for Network 18 to deliver the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, give up a big round of applause.
Ruxana, thank you so much for that. And everybody, a very warm welcome Bangalore to Namaste Web3. We are very excited to have you as part of this initiative, which aims to educate and inform about the latest developments and trends in the Web3 space. As the world of Web3 is constantly evolving, it can be difficult to keep up with the latest developments and understanding the implications of these technologies. Our goal is to bridge this gap and provide valuable insights and information to the Indian community. With the help of CoinDCX's industry expertise and Forbes' reputation for producing high-quality content, we are confident that we can make the world of Web3 and crypto more accessible and understandable for all. When it comes to technology, India has always been at the forefront. For this very reason, the Indian blockchain and Web3 space have already achieved a competitive advantage over other countries. We are seeing a steady increase in investment flows, a proliferation of startups, and a diverse pool of tech talent emerging, especially in Bangalore, is the reason we are here. The Namaste Web3 initiative will help to spread unbiased narratives about blockchain technology, address the basics, and help give an impetus to Web3 ecosystem. So let's work together to make India Web3 ready.
Thank you, Manisha, for that insightful welcome note. It was indeed a moment of pride as we launch Namaste Web3 that has been designed to connect with Indian Web3 community, raise awareness amongst the masses, and showcase the many benefits that it can bring to businesses, individuals, and society as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk a lot more on this, may I please welcome on the stage the founder and the CEO, CoinDCX, Sumit Gupta, for his keynote address. Let's give up a big round of applause for him.
While they get the mic. Namaste Bengaluru, how are you? Good, you're liking the event? Great. It's a good feeling whenever you get to see builders coming together, talking about what they are working on. So I was interacting with few folks outside. Always a good feeling, and it feels like how far the industry has come, like from last 5 years back. Kahan pe tha, aaj kahan pe. I think it's always a good feeling, and where is that? This one? Okay. Yeah. So very good evening, good morning, and warm welcome to all of you to come here today. I am very happy to see all the builders, all the entrepreneurs, all the ecosystem participant enthusiasts to be a part of this session. Namaste Web3 is not just an event, it's a movement. Why I say that is because it's not happening only in Bangalore. This is going to happen across the country, starting from Bangalore, then Mumbai, Delhi, Hyderabad, even Indore, Jaipur. So the way we are planning it is going to be happening in different cities of the country, and I am very much excited towards that, because jo real building hoti hai, that happens in these corners, and it was important for us to take this movement and not restrict it only to Bangalore, but take it to every corner of the country, because that's where the magic happens. And with this movement, we want to take that initiative and take it to different parts of the country, and very excited that after a lot of thinking, brainstorming, and hard work, we have launched this today, Namaste Web3. I love the name, by the way. That's how the team has been working on it from last 1 month. So I just want all of you to give a huge round of applause for organizing this. Plus, more importantly, I think all of you, because what makes Web3 so strong is all of you together, the community, right? So big round of applause to all of you who are present here today and everyone who is watching it online. If you can have that, thank you. Claps are free, by the way, so feel free to do that. It will just raise the energy in the room. Thank you. Just a quick, just for my clarity, how many of you are directly or indirectly like builders in this space? Like you're building something, or you are working in a company which is, oh wow, quite a lot. Oh, roughly 60%. Wow, very interesting. How many of you are here to learn? Okay. How many of you are students? Okay, great. So we have students, entrepreneurs, builders, people who are curious to learn. So very, very good combination. And I think let's just go to the slide. Yes. So so a lot of people might be thinking, in fact, this is a question that we were also discussing in the team meetings, that why there is a need to organize an event like this. We just had Unfold like few months back, right? Why are we doing it again? And so the why of it, like, I think this is the perfect time. This is the perfect time because, you see that spot, we are here. I think we are exactly there, right? In terms of where the ecosystem is right now. You might see a lot of bearish sentiments in the market right now. 2022 was a tough year, but I have personally seen, observed, and learned that the real building, the real innovation happens at that point, and that is an inflection point. Mathematics is an inflection point. After that point, like everything, starts up. I genuinely believe that 2023 to 2025, this 3-year period, right, is going to be an inflection point in the Web3 ecosystem, in the building of the Web3 ecosystem. It's very important. How do we nurture it? How do we take it forward? And what is our mindset in terms of, what are the kind of things that we will do in the next 3 years, right? So that's very, very critical. And, Web3 has opened up a wide space for thousands and lakhs of builders and innovators in this space. Generally, kami industries hoti hai, jahan pe, you have that advantage where there's a wide space for massive opportunities, and it's open to everyone, open to all of you in the room to come and tap it, right? Khali hai. Especially like right now, so many things that we come across, ye kar sakte hain, obviously like we cannot do everything. And then we realize, okay, like this is a white space, someone should come and capture it. This is a white space, someone should come and build that solution. And it's not about just investing. I am like, I personally feel that for us to take the ecosystem forward, it's important to build real world applications, real world solutions, right? And that's something that is it's not an operations thing, right? It's a technology thing. So that can be done only by builders and innovators in this space. And this is the perfect time and opportunity for that. And we want to see it happening. And not everything can be done by CoinDCX, right? We want to see Indian builders coming together and solving those problems and capturing that white space. And I genuinely believe India is in the perfect space, right place at the right time, bolte na. So India is in that spot to capture that opportunity because, it needs, talented developers, builders, innovators, and India has that. This is just an example, the intensity, the talent that's sitting in this room. And we will see the similar talent pool in different cities, just that we don't get to, interact with that. So even if, like, I have interacted in Indore, and I know the energy that people have to build that. The ecosystem might not be as strong as it is in Bangalore. So with this movement, with the Namaste Web3 movement, the aim is that how can we create that ecosystem and bring that energy to every corner of the country. And I think once we do that, then you will see the power of India and the potential India has in terms of leading the Web3 space globally. I feel that, I would like to see that happening, in the coming years, jahan pe, people, just internet mein na, like, very common example, but like, we want to see the next Facebook, Google, Amazon coming from India in this space. And it is very much possible, it's already happening. And it's just that we need to drive more awareness and more continuous education towards this. Because, the space is very challenging. Lots of, learning happens with the community, when you interact with each other. So the objective is that how can we bring the community together and how can we make India a leader in this space globally. And right now, a lot of people are building some phenomenal solutions. Some we know already, some we might not be aware, but that's already happening. The rate at which talent is shifting to Web3 space, I have never ever seen in the last 7 years since I've been interacting with builders in this space. It's insane, and it's quite inspiring to see so many people, excited about what all possibilities are there to innovate. And we will see all of that in the coming years. So I feel and I believe is that, this year, 2024, 2025, a lot of excitement is going to happen, right? And a lot of that excitement is going to be originating from India, right? And that's something that we would like to see coming to reality. And with all of you coming together, we'll make that happen. Now, just one quick question to the audience. I was reading one stat. Can anyone guess what percentage of India's GDP was contributed by the internet economy in 2015, roughly? Any guesses? 2%? Any other guesses? 10%? Oh, that's 20% is a lot. So 2015, 5% of India's GDP was coming from internet companies. And, that's good. But in 2020, in just next 5 years, this 5% changed to 16%. 16% of the country's economy was coming from internet-based companies. And that's not an easy, small number. It's a very powerful number. And imagine extrapolating it to the next 5, 10, 20 years, right? It's quite significant. And half of that, in fact, so roughly, I think $600 billion, right? $550 billion, $600 billion was coming from these companies which are running on top of internet. And half of that, almost half of that, maybe $250 billion was coming from apps, the apps that we use on our phones. And a lot of that happened in just last, 5, 10 years. It's the rate at which it's growing. It's phenomenal and quite exciting to see. Now, what we believe is that in the next 10 years, a lot of these internet-based applications are going to be built on blockchain for various reasons, efficiency, cost, transparency, openness, inclusivity, multiple benefits. And India should capture that. Now, when India captures that, it's not going to be just restricting it to India. It's going to be much more value that India can capture if India leverages it nicely. And that's not going to happen by 1 or 2 or 3 builders. It's going to be happening by innovators and builders. So that's basically what we feel we should drive more at the grassroots level. And it can only happen when all of us join hands together and tries whatever we can to make that come true, right? You would know a lot of friends, a lot of people who are in the technology space, who understands it, who are curious. So, you may want to educate it, you may want to onboard it. And this basically forum like this, where everyone is coming together, things like that, baby steps like that actually, takes it a step ahead, in that direction. Because we also learned a lot like these events only, right? That's how we learned about it a few years back. And now CoinDCX is reasonably decent in size. And I think, everyone, every passionate builder, every innovator can actually create a unicorn out of India in the coming years, and that's something that, that's the strength that we have, right? This is one report by NASSCOM that came up in October 2022, that Web3 can add $1.1 trillion of new economic value to India's GDP. And that is quite powerful, quite powerful. And this is over the next 10 years. Now, 10 years might look like, a big period, but it's just happened like that, right? So if in 10 years it can add $1 trillion of economic value, it's going to be quite like 20% of India's like, a $5 trillion economy dream if we can reach that. And it's very much possible because then you'll be able to capture value not just in India. You can create solutions out of India and serve the globe. That's something that is quite exciting and also pumps us up that, okay, if we can do that, if one company can, and Polygon, amazing example, right? Originated out of India. So I think there's so much potential India has, and we need to make that happen. So in terms of unicorns, right? I think in Unfold, I have shared that because there's so much potential to innovate in this space, right? Building a business or building a unicorn company in this space, as long as you are able to tap the right white space, and there are tons. You can talk to people here, you will understand what are the opportunities. We are also working on several initiatives that we know are unsolved problems, including, the adoption of DeFi. It's a very fundamental problem, right? How do we solve that? So that problem, you will have to figure out innovative solutions to solve that. So we are working on that. So many opportunities, so many white space. If you tap the right opportunity, if you, do that really well, then it's not difficult to create a unicorn in this business. So many have done it. India has already 4 unicorns in this space, and many more are in the process of, building, right? Many more are in the process of becoming unicorns, right? So I feel that in the next 10 years, while India is going to add so much value to its GDP, I think if all of us as builders, right? I'm also a builder in this space. If we can contribute to that, right? This can actually happen, and we will see not just 4, but hundreds of unicorns, and then very much possible to add like, so much value to, the countries. And if we don't do it in this space, तो और कौन सी space में करेंगे? This is the space where India is, giving 15 lakh, engineers every year. उसमें से अगर 1% भी लोग अगर इसमें बनाना चालू करते हैं, तो it's going to be very powerful, right? And if India doesn't tap this opportunity, which is completely technology led. India has so many, 18% of the population of the country. Almost 11% of global Web3 workforce is already in India. 11%. And it's doubling every year, right? So like CoinDCX में 700 लोग हैं. Total जितना, reports बोलते हैं, like 75,000 people are already employed in this space. All of us are a part of that. And this number is growing very fast. Now imagine, if India starts building these solutions, and not just of US companies, other companies, कि अच्छा ठीक है, आप solution बनाओ, हम बनाते हैं, right? We don't want to be a service-led, country in Web3. We want to be a builder-led country. So if we can do that, then I think all of this is happening. It's just that we'll be able to add catalyst, momentum to that journey. And I don't see, any reason why we should not tap this opportunity, why India should not tap this opportunity. And why just 4? Why not 40? Why not 400 maybe in the next 10, 20 years? Very much possible, right? So that's already happening. There are examples. Now, this is important, right? And many of us don't give enough weightage to this, but community is the strongest pillar of this ecosystem. Community. Why? Because the whole revolution started from community, right? It was not like a company which started, okay, I want to start Bitcoin or I want to start Ethereum. No, it's not that. It's a group of people coming together, believing in a vision that, okay, this is how the internet should be, right? It should be, it should completely be, very open, does not distinguish one individual from the other, whether it's a person residing in a very small village of the country or someone who is a multi-billionaire. Doesn't matter, you know. So, you know, it's all a, you know, community, and because of a strong community, we are able to survive, you know, so challenging times. There has been so many people are saying, oh, ye nahi hoga, wo nahi hoga, you know, this is not good, this is not good, right? But then the community coming and sticking together is one of our strength. And I feel and I believe is that the heart of this industry is its community, right? And by community, I don't mean to say people who are organizing events. All of us are community members of this ecosystem. And it is our job. It is not like, you know, only CoinDCX's responsibility, but it is our collective responsibility to make sure that we continue to spread education and continue to spread awareness about what's happening in this space, what's good, you know, what's not good. You know, I think all of those things are collective responsibility of all of us. And this strength of ours, which is the community, we need to continue to strengthen it and grow it over time. And that can only happen when you educate people. Educate people in the right direction, not educate about this coin invest, not that. Educate about what are the problems, what are the white spaces, what are the things that they can build, you know, what are the gaps what are the problems that they have faced while using, let's say, MetaMask or while using a Web3 application. There are tons of applications. I was playing chess in a, you know, in a Web3 application, very powerful. I used chess.com, then I used that app. You know, I could see, you know, how, for example, poker. I don't trust like what's happening in the background, you know, in that Adda 52 game. But if there's a blockchain-based poker, I would very openly trust it, right? So there are so many solutions that people are building in the background. It's just that they need support from the community, and all of us need to talk about it. Not talk about invest in this project, invest in this coin, but talk about, okay, this is a very powerful application that someone has built in some corner of the country. Let's promote each other. Let's support those initiatives, right? And that's something that I try to do wherever I get a chance. And I would request all of you also to critically analyze it. If you like that, support those people. Support people who are building in this space, right? We do it whatever way we can, for example, in terms of investing in some of these projects. We do that, right? But I think if all of us take that pledge and, you know, support the community and support the ecosystem, right? I think it's gonna do the wonders. It's gonna do we will see something very magical happening coming from India, because the whole ecosystem will turn very positive because we are supporting each other. You know, that's something that, you know, if we start doing, you know, that's gonna give a huge boost to everyone which is building in this space. It's not an easy space to operate in, right? All of us know, right? Regulations are, you know, under process. So many things happening, right? There are so many bad events that has happened in the past year. But that's not it. वो पहले भी हुआ है. ऐसा नहीं first time हो रहा है. Mount Gox, like, you know, they had 85% market share. And that was like, now, you know, we have come and, you know, these things are okay. But what is important is that everyone coming together and supporting each other. Someone doing a good work, you know, just openly, you know, appreciate them, support them, give feedback to them. I think that's something which only community can do. And they have done it in the past. You know, people do it in open source. There are communities where say, acha, ye nahi acha hai. I was reading the comments of, you know, our Discord Octo channel. Like, people are giving open feedback. So that's like community-based building. You know, that's in the DNA, that's in the heart of this space, which I absolutely love. I have not seen such kind of openness in any other industry. And that's something that keeps us excited and motivated towards being a part of this space. Because it's pretty unique, you know, to this space. I don't see it in other companies. Like Myntra won't be building, for example, you know, taking inputs from, you know, openly building basically. But here, companies are getting built openly in a transparent manner and together, you know, very inclusive as a DNA. So it's quite powerful. This is basically just some numbers. So, you know, so many job opportunities. If you are not directly building, get associated with a company which is building in this space. You know, and that's how people start. People, you know, get involved some way or the other. People who are students, you know, just be on top of what's happening. And then you'll automatically identify opportunities, right? Very, very exciting. I cannot emphasize more on, you know, the problems that has to be solved in this space, you know, the solutions that were not possible otherwise in Web 2, right? But here, those opportunities are open, right? So there are so many opportunities out there. And if you're genuinely excited about this space, then you must get associated directly or indirectly, or even like sham ko 1 ghanta, just interact. I think that will do wonders, and that's how we have also started. We have never imagined 5 years back. We have never imagined that CoinDCX will be a unicorn. We never had that objective in mind. It just happened because we were after solving one problem, right? And there are hundreds and thousands of problems out there, and that can be solved by all of us sitting in the room and focusing our energy and heart on solving that problem. Now, when we solve that problem, what are the key things that we have to keep in mind? And something that we also believe very deeply internally in the company as well, and there are substantial proofs out there. So it's a TIC model, right? And why this is important, because I feel that if we follow these 3 fundamental principles, right, then it's very, very easy and to build a very solid business in this space. One is the transparency, right? That's already inherent in the blockchain technology. But whenever you are building anything in this space, it's important to be transparent, right? We have done proof of reserves 1 month back, right? Where many companies were even thinking karna chahiye, nahi karna chahiye. And that's something that aligns with our thought process, that we want to be transparent. Jo bhi hai, acha hai, bura hai, like let's just be transparent, because we want to build together with the community, and that's how the trust gets built. Whenever you are building something, right, if we are transparent in terms of that process, I think that makes a huge difference, right? Huge difference. The next is the innovation. It's not about copy pasting, ye yahan pe ho gaya, wo chalta hi nahi space mein, because it's a global thing. You can't like build Uber for India, because Uber has built something in Web3. It's anyway there, like it's global on day one. But the benefit of that on the other side is if you build something from India, it's also global on day one, right? So if we can innovate with a mindset that people say, this Indian solution, we are building for that country, right? Or basically, they say, ye to India ka product hai, right? And this team has built it, and if we are able to do that, and India na bahut jugadu hote hain, like they are very jugadu, innovative. And if Indians apne pe aa jaye ki acha ye karna hai, so they will figure out innovative ways to do that. We have that in our DNA. Like for example, in our ways of working, right? Innovation is something that is a part of our blood. Acha, theek hai, whatever problem is there, we have to have innovation in it. And that's the reason why whatever product you see, right, it will have those elements of innovation, something different that keeps us, way ahead in terms of the value it delivers to the customers, right? So innovation is something that we should always keep in mind, and not just look at, acha 3 mahine ke andar ho jayega, kar dete hain, right? But if it's different, if it's innovative, then automatically it will start getting traction. We have seen that in the past while we were building CoinDCX. It has a huge role to play in terms of building our businesses. And the third most important thing is build together. When we're building any solution, keep community involved. It's not a good idea to build it in silos, but just be open, build it together. Tell everyone what you're building. Koi copy paste wala hai nahi, open source hai matlab, right? So I think if we keep community at the core, and I like to emphasize on it again and again, the power and the beauty of building together and community coming together and supporting each other, right? It's insane. It's insane. And it can only happen when all of us in the room and everyone who is in the ecosystem comes together and takes this pledge to support each other in terms of taking India, way forward in terms of Web3 and making India Web3 ready. Very, very important. And the last slide is, I just want to thank all the people who are here present today. You all are the heroes and the ambassadors of this ecosystem. It's not like we play our part, but it's a very, very small fraction of what, globally there's so much potential, and it needs thousands and lakhs of people to innovate in the space. So many people are present here, but the movement starts from 50 people, 100 people. So if we can have that in our mind whenever we are interacting with anyone outside, and not talk about short-term things, but talk about the real problems, the real solutions. How can we innovate in this space? How can we do something together? You know, if we are in that mindset, then I think India will do magic. And with this Namaste Web3 movement, the objective is that how can we make India Web3 ready? And hopefully this is going to be a seed, you know, which starts that thought process, which starts that movement. And I'm looking forward to see and meet so many builders, so many innovators in different cities of the country to truly make India Web3 ready. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. Thank you. And looking forward to interact with all of you outside whenever. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sumit. That was a very insightful and a very motivating address. I want to take a moment to thank the Web3 enthusiasts of Bangalore who have continuously shown their enthusiasm towards the new age of internet that is being brought about by the Web3 community in India. Today here at Namaste Web3, we have an incredible lineup of panelists and presenters who are going to take you on a journey of Web3. We have for you 2 panel discussions with industry leaders who will deep dive into the world of Web3, followed by a presentation by Kavya Prasad, who is the founder of Lumos Lab, and 2 workshops by Mr. Prashant Maurya, co-founder and CEO of Sweron, and Mr. Pranjal Bhardwaj, Developer Relation Asia Algorand Foundation. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to our first panel, I want to bring to your notice that we have 2 kiosks that have been set up here by Octo from CoinDCX. So if you want to empower yourself with DeFi, you must visit these kiosks to know more about them. And if you want to be part of CoinDCX workforce, don't forget to interact with the talent team in the other kiosk. Moving on, it's now time for us to meet our first panelist for the day. DeFi in Web3, charting the course through intersection of centralized and decentralized approaches. As many of you know, the Web3 spaces is evolving rapidly, and decentralized finances is one of the most exciting and rapidly developing areas within this space. Today, our esteemed panelists will be discussing the future of DeFi in the Web3, the challenges facing in the industry, and the intersections impact on the broader tech industry and economy. To moderate this session, ladies and gentlemen, I would request you to please help me welcome Network 18's Manisha Gupta to please join us on the stage. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause. And the panelists for this session are, ladies and gentlemen, with your big round of applause, please help me welcome Gaurav Arora, SVP DeFi Initiatives CoinDCX. Let's give up a big round of applause. Ravindra Kumar, founder and CEO Frontier Wallet. Let's give up a big round of applause. Rohit Goel, founder JD Swab and Modrex. Let's give up a big round of applause. Akshit Brodia, co-founder of Flint. Let's give up a big round of applause. On that note, over to our moderator.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Bangalore. And this is a very exciting moment for all of us as we begin the first of our Namaste Web3. And as Sumit mentioned, that we intend going to a lot of cities, try to make the community even stronger going forward. You know, there are a couple of things. Every time you go to a blockchain, a Web3, a DeFi seminar like that, there's one thing, Sumit, that you would agree perhaps. You know, the conversations are very close-knit, and as Sumit also mentioned, this community is really generous. I've been to a lot of cities and a lot of panels, and one thing that all VCs, all funding guys will tell you is, you come out with an idea, I'll give you the money. I'll support you. We are a community. I mean, this is one community that I have seen very, very close-knit. And there's one more incident that I love to tell, and I've told this to Sumit earlier perhaps, that, you know, there was a time that I met Vitalik Buterin. He's done only one interview, and he's done it with Network 18 here. And he came wearing a a t-shirt which had a big cat on it. And we told Vitalik, listen, I'm wearing a jacket. Do you want a jacket too? So he's like, no, I'm going to be sitting like this. We said, okay, we have jackets. We have spare jackets. We can lend you one. No, this is how I'm going to talk about it. So this is also a community which is intelligent, which is an innovator, which are builders, as Sumit continues to say. And this is a community which doesn't really, bother about what they are dressed up. It's all about what's here. So kudos to all of that. And thank you, panelists, for being here, taking time out for us today. And we're talking about DeFi and Web3, which is a big thing going forward. There is just so much that is happening in this space. And Gaurav, I'll start with you on this. What is the sense that you see DeFi as? We know about that, we're aware about that, but the impact on various businesses, one, and what are the challenges, opportunities that you still see in this space?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I think before we even jump into DeFi, it's probably good to just lay out a larger space of, hey, what's Web3? Because I think everybody has a very different view of what Web3 is, right? So for me, what Web3 overall, what sticks to me is, self-sovereignty, individual ownership, or as the woke people like to say, power to the people, right? That's what Web3 brings across. And there are like many domains in Web3, while we call it the new internet, there are 3 large domains. You've got identity, that's a really big one. It's growing, it's undernourished, but it's a big one. Then you have attention economy, and then you have finance. So finance in Web3 is what we call decentralized finance, but essentially it's just the same needs of finance, which are very basic needs. You've got the need to transact with somebody, send somebody money. You've got the need to earn money. You've got the need to hedge your risks. So the basic needs are there, and decentralized finance gives the people, a self-ownership way to interact with these, right? So you can participate in a very different way. And let me just explain that a little more, right? So you can basically hold your own assets. You could never do that earlier unless you have a very secure vault, but you can hold your assets in a very secure way digitally. You don't need to depend on a centralized person or face the risk of a centralized thing. You can transact with anybody. You don't need to have an intermediary. So that's what DeFi is bringing to you. So the way you transact, the people you transact with, they are changing. And fundamentally, all of that is powered by technology. So it's really the same old finance, but just powered by a new technology, giving way to, I think, very different economics, very interesting economics that are coming up. There's a lot of innovations happening. So that's really what decentralized finance is. And the opportunity really is in picking up this technology and finding out things that could never have been done before, bringing in participants that could never have been included before, and how do you unlock value for them. But it's not easy. I mean, we're all trying to solve it in different ways, but there are just tons and tons of problems, and we can talk about them as kind of the day goes by.
Oh, well, absolutely. So, Ravinder, this question is to you. I was recently talking to a CA who started to do taxes for guys who are into, who own cryptocurrencies, who are into DeFi, etc. And, the word dashboard really seems to be making a lot of insights right now. How are DeFi dashboards working right now? What is the penetration that you've seen into this one? What is the acceptance? What are the roadblocks that you see there? And what is the future of wallets going forward from here?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions. So, following up from the Gaurav, the way like he explained about DeFi, DeFi has come a long way. Okay, like I've been working in DeFi from day 0, I can say. Okay, like going back to how the DeFi word originated. Okay, like there was a Telegram group with all the early founders, founder of MakerDAO, founder of Compound Finance, and founder of Set Protocol. All like 10 of us had a group called, like, we should call this movement something. That's where the entire DeFi movement started. Okay, in that group, we had a discussion. Okay, we should call this movement as an open finance. Similar to open source in code, this is a finance happening. We should call it open finance. Some people wanted to call this transparent finance. Okay, like ultimately, like this entire technology is built on decentralized network. So we all agreed we should call it as DeFi, decentralized finance. So the next 15 days, all of these founders like were in that room. Like we tagged like hash DeFi in our Twitter. That's how this entire DeFi movement started. So we have come a long way, like how DeFi started, how we have, it has evolved over the period of time. Okay, when we started Frontier Wallet way back in like 2020, the amount of TVL which was in DeFi was around 10 million only. Just recently, like in before the 2022 bear market, okay, like we had like more than $600 billion worth of assets was locked in DeFi. But the challenges what we face today, like in DeFi, is there are like couple of things. Okay, one is onboarding itself. Onboarding people to DeFi is really, really difficult. Okay, like it's even the technical guys who are very familiar with tech and who are familiar with finance, they'll take like more than 24 hours to get onboarded to DeFi. Okay, and the next challenge would be like user experience. User experience of DeFi is at a stage where like we had the first stage of email. Okay, like we need to have a like Gmail moment in the user experience. Okay, and another big problem like which we face in DeFi is education and discoverability. Like we need to focus more on educating people, and we need to like when through the user experience itself, we need to make discoverability more easier within DeFi. Okay, what is the future of like wallets looking at? I see there is a lot more interest in terms of like identity, creating identity for wallets, and then like there is more innovations coming up in terms of account abstraction, as well as like keyless MPC wallet, which Octo is releasing. Okay, all of this will like create a wallets and like ecosystem for like onboarding our grandfather to use DeFi. Okay, right now it's impossible for any non-crypto people to get into DeFi. Okay, and gamify is also another aspect which will drive the crypto forward. Okay, like when the more games there is more younger generation will start using it. That is one thing which I would say those are the upcoming trends. Like,
oh, well, yes. Thank you, and thank you for answering all my questions in order, by the way. That wasn't a problem at all. You know, I remember, and Sumit also mentioned on how Polygon has done great for himself, and I remember this one conversation with Sandeep Nailwal, and we were talking about on how quickly the space is evolving, and he says, yes, Manisha, even if for you, as a moderator or somebody who's an enthusiast, you have to read at least 16 hours in a day to keep yourself up to speed. I'm like, okay then, that's how the pace is here. But since we are talking about Octo, why do not we, before we move ahead, talk more about that, explain to us on what it does, how are we moving forward with that product?
Absolutely. I think Ravindra gave a good introduction of the problems that customers are facing, and it really, I sincerely believe usability is the biggest problem facing this industry. I think there are a lot of brilliant, amazing chains, protocols that are available. Customers are not able to get to them. So it's like islands with no boats to go to them, right? And that's what we need to really solve. And I think the Gmail moment is a good analogy, but we need to make it easy for everybody to solve it. So the biggest three problems, just repeating them, is, hey, you need to create this super complex private key and keep it. And if you lose it, you've lost all your assets, right? So how can we abstract that out with MPC? It's still self-custody, it's still your key, but you don't have that one point of failure. So that's something we're solving with Octo, with MPC Tech. How do you discover, so it's like a wild, wild west, there are 60,000 tokens, there's so many protocols, a lot of them are actually malicious. How do you discover the right things to interact with? So we're helping the problem of curation and actually giving customers the way to access in a curated manner. And education, guidance, a lot of that is what we are working on. So our product is actually out there right now. We're finally, after a few months of work, it's available for beta testing. We'll actually roll it out to everybody in a few weeks. But yeah, like I said, it's a long journey, and I think everybody needs to create this ecosystem together. We all have different approaches to it, but together we'll kind of make many more people. Like there's $1 trillion of economy outside of DeFi which we want to connect and bring it in.
Yes, I remember Obama saying that once, together, we can. Yes, we can. All right, moving on. And Akshat, let's start with you then. And talk to us about Flint, on what the product is about and how is it being taken in by the market.
Sure. So actually, I'm not sure if all of us here know about Flint or what we do as a product, right? So back in December last year, essentially back in 2021 December, we thought that there's a very fundamental gap that, let's say, Ravindra also spoke about, or Gaurav also spoke about, that imagine this is the DeFi land, or this is the, let's say, the latest innovative products in crypto. And then this is where the normal consumer is. A normal consumer understands, let's say, apps like Paytm, apps like Craig, at least in the finance sector, right? And that was our goal as well. That can we launch a product which is like feels and works as if it's like a Web2 product, but then end of the day, the consumer gets the Web3 value out of it. That was the core of the first product we launched. So essentially, what we used to do was, you deposit your INR, like within the next 30 to 60 seconds of installing the app. You go through a very swift KYC process, which is like documentless, and then once you make your INR investment, your money gets converted into crypto, and then it starts earning yield on top of it. So that was the core offering to begin with, right? And again, the core idea there was that how do you make it as simple as possible, as if like the customer does not even probably understand, unless and until they want to know, does not even need to understand whether it's a Web2 app or a Web3 app. So that was the core genesis. Fast forward to today, we have launched that product across 161 countries. So across the board, this yield product is available, wherein like people can invest across 21 different cryptocurrencies and then earn yield on top of it. So that we're just taking that sort of core mission forward, wherein like how do we make Web3 products as simple as Web2 products, and then still deliver the value to the end consumer at the end of the day.
All right, it's like moving from 2G to 5G, but making a smooth transition perhaps there.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Rohit, to you then, tell us what Mudrex does and how do you look at the market and the kind of growth that we've seen, and what are the challenges that you see moving forward from here?
Yeah, so first of all, Mudrex is an investment platform for average consumers, your mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever you can think of. The way we have been, or the way we started into crypto was that we essentially believed that, obviously we didn't call it Web3 then, but Web3 is going to make human coordination much more efficient, much more effective. And the way to bring more people into that might be finance, like make people part of that journey, like how do they get benefit by also making themselves educated about that. So as a result, like what Mudrex does is you can invest into crypto with these basic themes in mind. Okay, what I am actually investing in, what idea am I investing in? Like, so when you invest into Mudrex, you don't think from the perspective that am I investing into Ethereum, am I investing into Bitcoin? But you think from more core fundamental questions like, am I investing into a technology which help me build smart contracts? Or am I investing into something which will represent decentralized finance? So it's a way like you invest in mutual fund, just similar to that. You invest in different ideas. As a result, you invest in a basket of cryptocurrencies which represent those ideas. So that's what Mudrex does. Now, I think the challenges of this market is going to be faced from the educational perspective more than anything else. And I think we have all seen that with FTX, with Alameda, all these platforms, that many times people get confused that they invested into Bitcoin, they invested into Ethereum, they feel like they invested into Web3. But that is not the case. Web3 is not about investment itself. It's about understanding that meaning that who owns my money, where my money actually lies, who controls what I'm doing, can I lose my money without even knowing. So these are the fundamental facts which will be much slower for people to understand compared to like investing in a coin, investing into a token, because it's always just easier for people to see financial benefits than seeing the real education part of it.
So, a follow-up question on that. Until now, for the last few years, it all has been about investing in the cryptocurrency to be part of the big change that is coming in sense of technology. What is your sense? What would you advise to the investors? I mean, I know there are builders here, but to the investors.
So I will personally say, just like what Sandeep said to you, read. Without reading, you will not be able to catch up with, not necessarily read, maybe like watch YouTube videos. There are amazing podcasters. One of my favorite is Bankless. They does amazing job in educating people. But many other people are doing this amazing job. You can listen to podcasts. You can listen to YouTube videos, like with videos. If you like videos, you can read blogs. You can read white papers, even better. But the only way to do that is like understanding it from the first fundamental perspectives. Don't think directly as the first question, like if I will make 100 times return on this, if I read this, just try to think it with the perspective like how will this make humanity better if this project is working on this.
Well, absolutely. Gaurav, this one is to you. So while we talk about adoption, and impact on various businesses that DeFi and Web3 can bring about, what would you say is the kind of awareness there? I mean, we do talk about a lot of numbers, and Sumit put out that wonderful numbers on where we were in 2015, where we stand now, and what are the forecast or the visibility for the next 10 years. What kind of sectors are coming in now? What is the kind of impact people are looking at from?
Yeah, I think if you look at any industry, right, the early part is always just, hey, speculation. Like every industry starts from that. It doesn't matter what it is, and that's what the last few years were. But the speculation is, like you said, there needs to be end utility. I personally feel the next 2-3 years are really going to be, like Sumit also said, real world utility, real world assets, tapping the real world things and coming in, and figuring out innovative economic models, right? So like this one I've been reading, and like I'm not able to spend 16 hours a day because unfortunately I also have to work, but but I think the time I do get to read, there's such interesting things that you get to read. So there's something called proof of physical work, which is coming up, where you can bootstrap physical networks, where there's a always economy. Hey, you want to set up a 3G network or a 5G network or a mapping network. There's some project called HiveMapper, Helium. Very interesting things are coming. They're all again starting out. So that's one way to actually get real world value into crypto. So there are people trying out so many different things, and some of them will, 90% of them might fail, but 10% will be really big. So those are the opportunities that I'm looking for. I mean, kind of what Rohit said, don't look out for the supply and demand or the noise. Look out for the end use case where you can find real world utility coming in. That's where the value will go up sustainably. It won't be a spike and a pump and a dump or whatever people call it. So like I said, that's one. The other thing which I personally find fascinating, because I used to be a trader, is some of these automatic market makers, AMMs as they're called, right? I think they will fundamentally change the way market making done in all parts of finance, right? And they are evolving, and every time I understand one, there's a new version that comes out, and I have to sit and understand another one. But they're evolving really fast. So that's another one which will become more and more sophisticated and take over all kinds of finance. So I think there are many, and we can get into them. But these are the two things I personally find very fascinating right now.
Oh, you're from the field. I'm not, and you have to feel me on this, because we started at Network 18. We started on a monthly basis. We started breaking down some words, the jargons. I did it once and I thought we are done. Another month there were 10 more. Another month there were 10 more. So we realized that this is how fast evolving it is. But the next concern is about liquidity. Solve it for me, because DeFi also faces that, and 2022 wasn't a kind year either.
Yeah, like as I mentioned, okay, like taking the leaf out of what Sumit mentioned, right? It's not about like building it for the next billion users. Okay, like we have to create next 10,000 builders. They'll bring the next billion users. Okay, like so as far as the liquidity is concerned, okay, like we are like addressing the wrong problem. Okay, like it's something like addressing the faster horse versus like building cars. Okay, DeFi, there is there is a very limited liquidity, but it just works like as expected. Okay, like in the recent debacle, whatever happened in FTX, even with so much volatility, like every single action which was supposed to happen in DeFi, it just worked. Okay, like be it a liquidation, be it a like quick change in the Oracle prices and everything, it just worked. So liquidity will eventually come. Okay, we are just getting started. Okay, like even though the biggest reason why we have a very little liquidity compared to like traditional finance itself is all of this current volume which is coming into DeFi and the Web3 is from the power users who understand crypto, who understand trading. Okay, like as and when the user experience increases, we will have more, we will be onboarding more like mainstream users. When we have more mainstream users, the liquidity will keep on increasing over the period of time. Okay, like we are still very early in that stage. As Sumit showed, we are here like in one of the graph. Okay, we are very early in those, but all of, some of the things, okay, like we make mistake, okay, comparing TradeFi versus DeFi. Like we shouldn't do that. Okay, we need to highlight what DeFi does best. Okay, like if you see money Legos, okay, the concept of money Legos, you can't do that in TradeFi. If you want to do flash loans, you can't do that in TradeFi. These are the things which are innovations which has come in DeFi. Okay, so the liquidity will be eventually solved when the mainstream adoption comes in place.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, Gaurav, from centralized to decentralized, obviously regulations is still a big question mark here, and now we're talking about global regulations here. So there's a lot of wait and watch and a bit of a jitteriness here. But how have you seen India and the world move from centralized to decentralized?
Yeah, I think actually it's the wrong question. It's very interesting. If you go back and read even the centralized thing, like look at CoinDCX, their mission, right? Their mission is not to make a centralized exchange. The mission was always, you know, even 4 years back, hey, how do we bring decentralized economy to the customers? It just happened, like if you look at that graph it was there, right? It happened that the way to take the first step was to solve all the problems, you know, centrally. So, hey, I need to solve custody centrally. I need to solve market making, liquidity, you know, a lot of things we need to solve centrally. And that's what that's what spurred the first S-curve, as you may say. I think now everybody agrees that people have evolved. There are 300 million people who've been touched by this. Now the next S-curve will be kind of decentralizing or giving back some of those things which were held initially. And that's what decentralized. So I don't think it's a movement against each other. I think it's just a natural step. You take one step and then you take more complex steps. So that's really what's happening. But I do genuinely believe that a lot of past tasks that were done centrally might be done, like custody is something that genuinely might be done better in a self-custody manner instead of centralizing it for various reasons. And it might flow that way, right? Maybe liquidity or market making might always be central. So I think we'll learn and figure that out. But I think that's the right path. It's just a step. It's not a movement against something. It's a step forward.
We get that. You know, there are so many issues already into this market, and we are tackling that. You guys are tackling that. And I didn't say FTX. You started that. And that's the question I'm going to ask you, Rohit. So it's been a difficult time. And time and again, the non-believers get a chance to say, I told you so. So from where we stand right now, and the belief that the stronger hands, the genuine people will still continue to work on this, and we have to have this, see the kind of growth that we're looking here. What is it that the chain metrics show now, and what is it that needs to be done now?
So I think that's the power of Web3, because it is transparent. Like one single person who is transparent makes a big difference. Like for an example, you took an example of Vitalik. Like that one single person create that much impact, because like you do not really need to know what other companies Vitalik holds or what other things he's doing. But the open source code he has put, that has created that much impact. Like just to give you an example, by the way, like we are working on another project called Jedi Swap, which is a decentralized exchange. So now like that is built on a technology which is in its very, very early stage. It's called zero knowledge technology. Some people might be aware of it, some people might not. And it does not matter today. But what matters is like people who are thinking in that way, they are trying to solve all these problems using the same ethos. So ethos continues, the ethos of transparency. I think Web3 just shows like, it represents transparency and equal access. Probably you can summarize it in these two words. So whatever you are building, if that carries those products, that community, or whatever, it could be a community, it could be an organization, it could be a product, it could be a centralized product. If those things represents these two values, then it is kind of pushing for Web3. Now you can do it by building a centralized exchange as well. CoinDex, CoinDCX, Coinbase, CoinDCX, both does amazing job in that, right? So it's like pushing for that transparency. And there are some hardcore tech work happening in that where probably, okay, I do not need to trust CoinDCX if that is transparent or not. Like they can just use this technology and it will eventually will happen itself. So I think naysayers or people who kind of give these negative comments, they just do not know the difference between probably holding Ethereum and how Ethereum works. It's that kind of a difference, and it comes back to the same problem I was saying, that education is always slow. Sometimes it's not even about like if we can learn, sometimes it's about generational difference as well. Like our parents cannot use mobile phone, we can pretty easily kind of understand it. So that same difference you will see with colleges. Sumit was telling that as well. Like, one more interesting thing, like the way we are building Jedi Swap, there is no team, there is no company. Everything's done by the community. There is not a single person on any financial or legal contract. And we have 300 plus contributors in that. Most of them come from backgrounds with like just freshly graduated or people in developing countries like Nigeria or Turkey and things like that, where there are no opportunities. And those people get it so much well, even though like the same people actually got burned because of FTX. They come, now I understood why crypto exists. So this is going to be one of the part playing for that inflection point which you saw on the graph and nothing else. Like it is all going to play. I will say, I don't want to say it, but I will say this was the best thing happened for DeFi or Web3. More and more people are going to give attention to it and going to really understand it, what it means.
We should have actually put that graph here, kept that graph here, because there is so much conversation around that graph. We could have had Sumit here as well, because there is so much, we keep going back to what you said there. But coming to you, Akshit, and this is something I've asked all the exchanges in India and abroad as well. So, okay, how much of a part of portfolio should that be? And everybody has been very cautious on that. So when we look at TradeFi, when we look at DeFi, how have you seen people adopt it into their portfolio? How have you seen that transition?
It's a very interesting question, because I think that is what defines the TAM for almost all of us here, right? Like I'll share two views on this. The first one is how do people think about it standing today? And then what do I believe it would be, or where would it be 5 years down the line, or at least like 3 to 5 years down the line. So standing today, like at Flint, we have this culture that we speak to users almost like every day. So we have spoken to more than, I personally would have spoken to more than like 2,000, 3,000 users till now since starting the company. And one of the key things that is very, very evident is that people look at crypto as risk money. And this actually goes against what, let's say, Rohit was just mentioning. Or let's say what Sumit also mentioned. Don't look at X to 100X sort of opportunities. But apparently, the way things have been marketed and things have been put across, everybody, or at least the mass consumer, is thinking of it from the lens that, hey, let me just, like, how do I 10x my money? Like, I've put in, let's say, 90% or 80%. So almost like every second customer you speak to in India who invests in some format, either on Zerodha, Grow, or something like that, their idea is that, hey, on first my salary comes in, I put in, let's say, if I earn 1 lakh, I put in like 50,000 on this. I take out like 10% of it, or 10 to 20% is the sweet spot for a lot of these people, specifically young people between 20 to 25 or 22 to 27 sort of age. And then these people are like, hey, why don't I put in like 5-10,000 in crypto? If it works, it works. Like I've heard this friend of mine has made like 1 lakh rupees out of it. So I think that has been the sentiment till now, With that being said, specifically in the Western markets, primarily US, which is like probably one of, like the highest educated country in terms of crypto adoption, I think this mindset is changing. So there are platforms which are coming from the lens of long-term crypto holding. And this trend has been started specifically by these HNIs or family offices, wherein these HNIs and family offices are thinking that, hey, Bitcoin seems to be the asset class which has outperformed any other asset class over the next, or like over the last 10 years. Why don't I take a 2%, 5% exposure to it, start there, and then move forward, which is sort of the vanguard sort of thinking which started back in 1960. Like cutting it short, I think 5 years from now, the core way people look at crypto, or at least Web3, is not just from the lens of, hey, this is my gamble money. I think that sentiment is going to shift towards, let's say, hey, let me buy a crypto index. Let me get some exposure to this asset class, and let me construct it as if, let's say, hey, these are like 10% in crypto, 20% in, let's say, mutual funds and whatnot. So I think that sort of trend is what at least I see specifically in more mature markets, and then that's just going to come into, let's say, India and other countries as well.
Well, absolutely. That's what we look forward to. But you can't blame all those people, because we all saw those crypto billionaires just crop up, mushroom up in a matter of days. So yeah, everybody wanted to make that money. Okay, I'm going to do some fireside questions now, and we'll quickly do that before we wind this up. So Gaurav, to you first. How have the last 10 years been?
I think period of fast change. A lot of fast. This is probably the fastest things have changed forever in the history. So it's just going to get faster, I believe.
Evolving.
Yeah.
I guess like if I look back the last 10 years, like I miss the e-commerce boom. Okay, like I am rejoicing the new opportunity like this, like I'm not losing on this opportunity, Web3 moment.
Yeah, I think evolution is exponential by default. So the next 10 years will be more crazier than the last 10 years, and it will just go on like that.
I think the last 10 years personally for me have been going through a bunch of iterations towards products. Like it's been probably like the 10th app or the 10th product I would be launching, or I've been working on along with my co-founder. So I think it's just about iterating and just getting that right. Like if think about what, let's say, again, Sumit mentioned today, if the entire of Web3 had a president, the president would think about launching a use case, launching like, let's say, something like gaming, which everybody would adopt. So I think it's all about just iteration and getting to that use case, or getting to that fundamental value that people feel is adding to their lives.
Okay. What is the next new use case that you see coming up?
For me, it's hands down gaming. Turns out, again, like basis whatever first-hand surveys I have done, turns out that everybody in the gaming ecosystem, and these are like let's say people living in tier 2, tier 3 towns as well, feel that, hey, when you actually explain them, hey, this is decentralization, this is tokens, this is NFTs and blah, 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 right? They don't think of anything else. They're like, hey, is it like game? Is it like a game? So I think fundamentally people just get it in that ecosystem, and that ecosystem is like way, way large. So for me, my personal bet is gaming at this point in time.
My dark horse is identity, actually. I think identity is going to really pick up for two reasons. I think there are two other bubbles which we don't talk about. There's AI and there's metaverse, right? So you have now a need to prove that you're human. And blockchain allows you to do that well, right? Because hey, ChatGPT can answer better than you. And then you have metaverse, where you have need for people, place, things to be live digitally. So I personally think identity will be one of the fastest growing domains the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, I already mentioned identity like earlier. Like along with that, okay, especially in Indian markets, okay. Gamify will definitely take a really big thing, but another dark house which everybody is not concentrating is entertainment industry, because entertainment is so relevant for India. Okay, like identity, metaverse, all of this comes in entertainment. Okay, like there are a couple of projects who have been working on this and doing innovative marketing like through NFTs and metaverse, and that will be next way of like doing things in India. Like,
So I guess like pretty much everything is covered. I'll say computation and collaboration. So we will see like, so communities will represent the collaboration part and identities will play a big part in that. Gaming will evolve out there as well. And then computation is represented by like, how do we like create collective consciousness? So like we are bringing all of our brains together, but now how do we make a single brain out of each of others' brain? And ChatGPT has shown that now it's just a matter of time we put that computation on a decentralized network, so it shows more of us than just OpenAI as a company.
What will work for India going forward from here? Is it going to be the sheer population, the talent pool, the funding that we see, the kind of startups that we have? What is it that works in favor of India when you look at this sector?
Okay, so I am going to give more philosophical answer here. I believe Indians care for each other, and that is going to put us in the front race.
Community.
No, I think I think we are in the perfect storm, right? We have the right demography, we have the right education level, we have the right skill sets, and I think we just like to jump technologies. So we're going to skip maybe Web2 and just go into Web3.
Kuch naya dikhao.
Exactly. So I think that way we're in the perfect storm, and that's really what's going to help us, leap forward.
I feel the youngest population, okay, like 95% of Indian population have access to mobile and internet. Okay, that will play a very big role. And one other thing would be India has largest English-speaking developer community, like which will also play a really big role. That will work in India's favor.
I think, and this has been my realization of late. I had multiple views on this, but now my view is sort of condensed. Is the fact that a lot of, like India fundamentally has a lot of engineers. That's one, which shows up today. But specifically these young engineers who are like extremely smart, somehow they get Web3. Like somehow there is this, they don't care about whether the market is down, the token is down, the Bitcoin is down, the index is down and whatnot, and what the media says or what the world says. Their eyes just light up when they just understand that, hey, like the moment you introduce something good in DeFi or let's say in the entire crypto ecosystem to them, they just sort of naturally get it. And their hunger to like just get something out of it. I recently just met this guy. He was like, I introduced him to Web3, told him, hey, ABCD things are there. Next week he sent me a dApp that he had deployed on StapNet. So that's the way I think about it. Like young developers coming out of India is going to be like the biggest thing that's going to contribute to it.
Just want to add one more point to that. I think there's a bit social aspect to it. I feel there's a huge risk-taking mindset in India right now, and maybe it's a youth, maybe they are more risk-taking, or maybe it's a bit of a financial ability, or maybe they have seen some successes or 40 unicorns and all. But I think the risk-taking mindset is also going to, bring all of this together and allow the youth to take the risk.
Absolutely. So moving away from philosophies and realizations, my final question to the panel here is that what is that one measure you think will make the system more robust, more foolproof, and invite more people in?
I think we already have it. That is sufficient transparency across the board, right? Like for example, it does not matter whether you're centralized or decentralized. Till the point in time, you're just honest about what it is, right? I think you're sticking by the core ethos of crypto. And then the solutions are already there. It's not that you need to innovate a new solution. You just have to stick by it and just be honest that, hey, maybe like we've launched this X thing, and these are the risks in it. I think once you do that, people like naturally appreciate it. So that's my view on it.
I will say education. It's like and education is by default not centralized. If I understand something, like I have my own way of explaining it to 10 people I know, those 10 people will have their own way of explaining it to the next 10 people. So I think it will go exponentially, but in the start again, like just like how exponential curves are, it will look like slow, but that is what going to make a lot of change. That will eventually bring a lot more entrepreneurs, a lot more new ideas, better transparency, because all those people will be thinking from Web3 philosophies.
Yeah, I guess like education and also like some educating the regulators as well, not educating just like just the people who wants to use crypto on DeFi. Like we need to educate regulators as well. And like one thing which is very different in Web3, okay, how can you are asking how can it become more robust? Okay, as a community of builders, okay, like the Web3 ecosystem is more open and more collaborative. Even though there is a competitor product, okay, there's a competitors, like we like to help each other, okay, that is something which is helping the entire Web3 community. Yes.
That is something that I've absolutely seen. The community thing is just so strong when it comes to this sector. Gaurav, your final comments.
I think the unpopular answer I'm going to give is we need regulation, right? And this is why I believe we need regulation, because I think the world of Web3 is brilliant, right? DeFi, but it's still far away from the real world. And these boundaries will never, be missable till you have a regulator sitting there adding safety. And once you have a safe and a regulated way for the real world to access this, I think this will blow up. Then everybody will get value. But that boundary needs to be regulated. I don't believe Web3 needs to be regulated. I believe the boundaries need to be regulated where things go in and out. And I think we really need a good, obviously we need to help and work with the regulators. I don't think anybody knows the answers. But when that happens is when you will see all of this grow.
All right. People, on that high note, thank you so much, panelists, for being here and for that amazing conversation with us. Thank you so much.
Well, that was quite an informative session. A big round of applause for all our panelists. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's give up a big round of applause. Moving on, the topic for our next panel is empowering the next gen of Web3 developers, overcoming challenges and filling the gaps in dev tools and infrastructure. Our next set of panelists will be discussing the major challenges faced by the developers in the Web3 spaces and what innovation is required to enable the developers to build this space. They will also delve into the white spaces where the tools are needed and how these Web3 companies are planning to fill these gaps. Ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this session, may I please welcome on the stage Mr. Rohit Jain, MD of CoinDCX Ventures. Let's give him a big round of applause. And welcoming our esteemed panel, with your big round of applause, please help me welcome Priyeshu G, co-founder of Router Protocol. Joining the panel is Ayush Gupta, Director of Near India. Let's give a big round of applause. Joining the panel now is Piyush Maheshwari, Ecosystem Growth at Protocol Labs. And joining the panel is Pranshu Rastogi, VP of Engineering at Push Protocol. On that note, over to our moderator.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And welcome to all the panelists and the audience. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining in. This panel is about building infrastructure for Web3. I mean, without which, needless to say, Web3 is not going to grow and scale, right? And it's all the boring stuff that we completely ignore as builders and entrepreneurs in Web2. But in Web3, this is very much front and center. And with each year, I think the kind of challenges that the infra layers and people building the infra layer in Web3 need to solve for changes every year. So, with that as the backdrop, very glad to be hosting this panel and very glad to have these folks on the panel. I now know a lot of these guys, fantastic builders in this space, solving very, very critical problems for the Web3. So again, with that as the background, I thought the first thing would be that not everyone would know about each of the protocols that you guys are a part of and the protocols that you guys are building. And even the folks who know what you're building, they may not be completely aware of the long-term vision behind what you're trying to solve for. So I thought it'd be good to just kind of go around the table and take a few minutes and talk about what are you building, what's the long-term vision of what you're building, and maybe we'll start with you.
So at Protocol Labs, we are building multiple protocols like IPFS, Filecoin, LibTP. So IPFS is like content delivery network rather than location-based addressing which we have, which HTTP gives. Filecoin is basically a storage market as of now. But yeah, we have lots of more things coming into picture, which maybe I'll talk later on. Yeah, maybe Pranshu, you can.
Hey, hi guys. So, at Router Protocol, we are building a cross-chain interoperability layer. What happens is that each blockchain is like a siloed data structure, which does not have any native way to communicate with other blockchains. And we noticed early that a lot of fragmentation started to happen. So we build the connective tissue between different layer 1s, layer 2s, and think of it like a bridge which connects all the different blockchains. That is what we build at Router Protocol.
Got it. Hi everyone. So you might be familiar with Near protocol. Near is a layer 1 blockchain which is supposed to be fast, scalable, and cheap. We have less than 1 second finality. And we have a total of 600K monthly active wallets and a total of 22 million wallets on our blockchain. We compete with the likes of Polygon, Solana, Ethereum. I can talk more about the sharding part and the technological infrastructure as we go on in this session. Yeah, but that's about it.
Cool. Hey, hi everyone. I guess like what push protocol is doing is solving the communication part in the Web3. So like, we often realize we are playing or exploring a lot of dApps, right? But like one of the like how we usually use them, like maybe you go to some of the web browser, connect our wallets and maybe interact with that. But as a like user, we are like, exploring a lot of dApps at a single time. Or like there are a lot of essential things that we might miss usually. For example, like let's say like my loan is about to get liquidated in DeFi. Okay. And let's say my ENS name is about to get expire. So just to sum it up, like push protocol is mostly building a communication layer in the Web3. Right now we have like 2 segments. One is the notification and second is the push chat, that is the wallet to wallet chat. So in the initial, the major part is the notifications. That means you can send and receive notification even in the Web3 space. And while talking about the wallet to wallet chat, let's say like you own a very cool NFT, right? But I don't know like who you are. But I know like, okay, this wallet address have that NFT or something. So with that specific push chat, you can interact with wallet to another wallet without actually revealing your identity. Yeah.
Got it, cool. I think the next question I had, maybe we'll start in the reverse order. All of you guys are building protocols for the world. Some of you are actually building it out of India. So I'm curious to hear from you what your go-to market is. How do you think about your go-to market? What's worked well? What hasn't worked well? How do you think it's different from Web 2 as well?
Yeah, I guess like one thing like that is very common everywhere. Like what is go-to market or like what goes well, what doesn't go well. I guess most of the things are data driven. Like if we have like a, right amount of user synthesis, we have a right amount of data. So we usually like come with a better or like, conclusions, what may be impactful. So I guess like that's one of the things we usually try to do when we are building something, like have a specific user synthesis. Second thing, whenever we take decision, of course, like, if it is related to data and decision is taken by data, it will be like more impactful and more correct. Like we can see ChatGPT, he's making decision from all the data, right? So I guess these are the things. And of course, like few things that might get wrong is something like, we undervalue sentiments of human. Because like everyone mentioned, like, Web3 is mostly a community driven. So it's also necessary to understand like, what as a humans or like sentiments we believe. Because there might be some news that, we might won't be like able to articulate or understand that may create like a wrongful or like oppose impact. So, yeah.
Got it. And, especially for you, Pranshu, given that you guys are building the push protocol mostly out of India and a big part of the team is in India, What I keep hearing from the global Web3 community is that while India has phenomenal developers and builders in the Web3 space, go-to-market from India can be a little bit of a challenge. Even Web2 companies being built out of India, solving for the world, did have their fair share of challenges. What are the 2 or 3 things that you think work well from a go-to-market point of view? How do you reach out to other builders to use your protocol? How do you reach out to users? What's worked well there, and how do you think it's different from Web 2 maybe?
Yes, I guess one of the best thing is like, I guess even some in the previous panel also mentioned, like, it's mostly the community that delivers. And like these kind of meetups or hackathons plays a major role in educating the builders, everyone. For example, like one things that we are creating, we will be like more of, transparent to that. For example, if we are building some sort of a features, like I guess like even from the Mudrex JD, I really like that point, they like 300 or 300 plus contributors came from like outside from the organization and build that thing. So that means they are creating transparency and they are putting all the things publicly. Even like on the Octo side, you are developing like keyless feature, right? So it is like really good thing, like you have mentioned that, we are building something. So someone who are aligned with these ideas, they can like, of course contribute. Now coming to the point, like how we usually do. So there are like few things. One of the major role that I guess play is the hackathons. Hackathons is one of the best way, like, where you can go and contribute, learn, and maybe like, at least explore. And there is, of course, incentivization. That is the part of it. Second thing is more like a workshops and the panel like this. So that helps them to educate and see and provide like more of a roadmap. That, okay, this are the way, or like at least this thing exists. Because if we don't communicate, like, we'll never know. So I guess, yeah, these are few things.
Okay, makes sense. Ayush, your thoughts? And, especially given how the L1, L2 battle is kind of heated up, how do you think about go-to-market in this environment?
Yeah, so first of all, I think Near has been extremely successful. We are, I think in top 5 when it comes to, adoption with 22 million wallets. We have a huge developer community, and obviously if you look at even the market caps, you would, probably come in top 5. But yeah, what went well, what didn't go well? I think there are some certain resistances everywhere globally when it comes to adopting a language like Rust, because Near was a Rust-based chain. And we realized this, but we do think that Rust has a very formidable advantage compared to Solidity, which is the primary language which is used in EVM today. Having said that, we also developed Aurora, which is a private shard on Near. And Aurora, you can deploy contracts on Solidity as well. In terms of other bottlenecks, I think what Octo is doing right now in terms of, keyless access, that's something which is a part of the Near infrastructure even today. So what happens is, today, if you want to onboard somebody on, on a wallet, you have to make a user write, 24-phrase mnemonic, which is obviously not the right way to, have mass adoption in place. So what we essentially do is think about, you sending a QR code to somebody. That guy scans the QR code and just inputs a PIN. This is possible with the flexible account model that Near has. So what essentially happens is you can change your keys whenever you want to. You can use a PIN. You can even have a 2FA if you want to. And if it is as secure as a Web3 wallet can be. So there are things like these, especially on the user experience part. And then, allowing more developers to come on board. I think are the sort of, things that we are doing on, getting this adoption faster, on Near specifically.
And how are you reaching out to these developers? Because there are a lot of protocols that are vying for their attention. And kudos to the team, for having gotten to the scale you have. But there is Ethereum and the entire L2 ecosystem. So there are a lot of people vying for the same developer. How do you reach out to them? B, how do you incentivize them to build on Near versus some of the other protocols? How do you think about that?
Right. So I think Ethereum and EVM ecosystem, for example, if you take Polygon or if you take Arbitrum, there the network effects are extremely strong. because the market share that Ethereum has from the beginning was extremely large. So it took a lot more for chains like Solana, Cosmos, or Near, who were Rust-based chains, to get these developers on board. So we had extensive grants program. We did a lot of events in India, developer specific events, just to kind of handhold those developers to come on top of Near. And what we are seeing now we are seeing a very robust Rust community as well. I understand that Solidity community is still probably very large, but now people realize the benefit of Rust, and we are seeing that happening. And like I mentioned earlier, Aurora is the place to deploy if you are building an EVM compatible contract on Solidity. And then second, that I think one of the biggest things that we're doing right now. So see, if you talk about Solidity developers, it will be in the order of 100Ks, for example, right now. But think about how many developers there are on JavaScript today. It's in millions. There's an order of magnitude of difference there. And Near is enabling people to deploy smart contracts, not just using Rust or Solidity, but also using JavaScript. And I think that moment when it happens, I believe it's going to happen sometime in 1Q of this year itself. I think as more and more people, developers, come on and understand that now Web3 deployment is possible via JavaScript, this kind of multi-language access will enable a lot of developers to come swiftly on other blockchains like Near.
Got it. No, I think that's going to be a phenomenal growth hack. I can so easily see a lot more developers coming into Web3 with something like JavaScript. Got it. What about you, Priyeshu? How do you think about it? Again, you're a company being built out of India, building a solution for the world. What's worked well, what hasn't worked well from your go-to-market point of view?
So my observation has been that it's very important for a project to map out the developer journey from the very beginning to the end. And that starts with your technical documentation. And it's been phenomenally very important to have very good documentation in place so that developers can come and see what exactly you are doing and what you're offering. And then comes the technical aspects of it. You should have a white paper if you are a infrastructure project, so others can see how you work and what are the technical things they should be aware of when they're building on your product. And then comes the support ecosystem. It's very important that you handhold developers, as Ayush mentioned, as they are building on your product. And that is why we create a lot of focus communities on Telegram, Discord, and even Slack, or even WhatsApp, whatever. We'll go wherever our developers are. So we don't restrict them to a single platform. We chase them wherever they are. And apart from doing all of this, it's very important to do some outreach also in terms of various events and developer relations. For example, doing workshops and organizing hackathons, and putting out some incentives or grants program as well for developers who are serious about building on your infrastructure. And all of that being said, it's well and good, but I mean, if you're not solving an actual problem, if your product does not have a product market fit, then all of it is waste, and you should probably pivot to something else. So that's what has worked for us so far.
Got it. And I'm just going to stay on this question for 1 second longer. While organizing events, hackathons makes a lot of sense, and that's the common theme that I'm hearing. Being based in India, reaching out to Indian developers, I'm sure is a lot easier. But when you're trying to tap into a global pool of developers and try to get global builders to build on top of the router protocol, is it very similar? Are you going out doing hackathons globally, or are there other kind of growth hacks that you're looking at?
So what I have seen is that there are some philosophical differences between Indian developers and European developers and American developers. So Indian developers are typically in a very early stage, and they're typically clueless about what they have to build. They're very good at programming, but they do not have very good ideas as in what should I even build. Then European developers are slightly little more mature, and they have some idea of what they want to build, and they look for some solutions, and they try to find you instead of you trying to find them. And with American developers, I mean, they're very opinionated. They have very strong opinions, and they'll try to debate with you, and they'll try to dig each and everything about you, and then only they'll be very hard to convince. So for an Indian project, I mean, India is a net exporter of DAUs, daily active users. So it's a very optimal strategy to first optimize for Indian developers and then go for the outside developers. But we do have some funnels of developers in terms of some large influencer partnerships. And those influencers are typically based abroad. So what they do is they connect us with developers from their countries, and we have some incentives for them as well. And then we onboard the foreign developers through that influencer route. That works quite well for us.
Got it. Very interesting. And Piyush, Filecoin and IPFS is probably one of the most ubiquitous kind of protocols in the Web3 space. So again, very curious to see, especially during the initial days, what kind of worked well from a go-to-market point of view? What got you to this point where you are today? And I think a lot of builders in the audience will also have that question. So just very curious to hear what you have to say on this.
Cool. First, I want to, explain in detail because I haven't done in the beginning. So basically, IPFS doesn't have any incentivized layer. That's why Filecoin was built. And Filecoin right now is world's largest decentralized storage network with around 18 exabyte of storage capacity. Further, Filecoin is just a storage market as of now, but we are even building FVM, which is again a Rust-based VM. Through that, we want programmability in Filecoin ecosystem. So with that, basically, you will see multiple VMs on top of Filecoin, like specifically FVM. Like first, we are pitching, probably it will be out in end of first quarter, FEVM, Filecoin's Ethereum virtual machine. So whatever you are deploying on Ethereum, you will be able to deploy it here as well. But a new use case economy will emerge, like perpetual storages, of course, DeFi for Filecoin, and DataDAO, Dataverse. Of course, it's new terminologies altogether. But these use cases, these tools will be very much beneficial for other ecosystem, Near, Polygon, and others as well. Like, let me give you one example. One is NFT.storage, which right now is a public good, which we are pushing. So let's say if you want to upload your NFT, it's free to upload on NFT.storage. And through the public good mechanism, how it will work, basically it will become a DataDAO. So DataDAO is a concept where maybe 7 to 8 folks come together via smart contract. They will be paying you, paying the infrastructure to work forward as a public good. So this NFT.storage can be used in Near, Polygon, and any other ecosystem throughout. So this is one part of it. Further, maybe the Azure's Move VM, which is right now centralized, maybe that can be built on top of FVM as well, like maybe Filecoin's Azure Move VM or something like that. So I think a new use case economy is there, so lots of use cases will emerge. So let's see. And coming to your next question, so basically Filecoin is, of course, largest decentralized storage network, but we want to become world's largest storage network altogether, beating the centralized storage as well. But maybe we can onboard them as well on Filecoin. Let's see how it goes. But I would say like it's a long journey because of course AWS and all these have lots of Lambda functions and all the stuff which is not available on Filecoin as of now. But yeah, basically with tooling and all that stuff, we are targeting very well. Lots of like Spiron, push protocol, these are even built on top of Web3.storage, which is a solution built on top of Filecoin. And then Spiron, these guys are built on top of Filecoin. So there are many solutions which are built and they believe in ethos of Filecoin. So I guess Filecoin market is quite going well in terms of adoption as well. Like if we see or compare the last year adoption with the 2022 adoption, so it's almost 100x. So around 296 TBs of data is being stored on Filecoin as of now. But yeah, like it's growing, and of course for the growth hacks, we even go for hackathons, monthly hackathons, even for FVM specifically. One hackathon is going on right now, which is Space Prof Hackathon, which have lots of incentives into it. Like from a developer perspective, of course, hackathon is there, but further we have lots of grants and stuff. Further, these can be incubated all together in a separate accelerator. And yeah, I think moving on, lots of new startups, even in the testnet itself, there are 100 plus 150 to be exact. They are already building. Probably 30% of them will be a tool provider, which can be used on other chains as well. So super bullish on that.
Got it. And just to stay on that for 1 second longer, now given how ubiquitous Filecoin and IPFS are, you get a lot of inbound. Of course, you still do go to your hackathon and still do your community building, which is a very important part of your ethos overall. But now it's a lot more inbound, I would imagine. A lot of it is inbound. What I'm wondering is, when you were growing, at that time, there were IPFS replicas as well. They too were coming to hackathons. But you guys have completely stood head and shoulders above everyone else. Were there one or two things that worked, which helped you to stand apart, or from competition during your initial days?
So from the initial days, let's say IPFS was just one version, like one version was built at Protocol Labs, but there are 15 others which are built outside Protocol Labs, and we are funding them. So at the initial days, of course, IPFS was like, okay, we are just starting. But then to this throughput, this community building was, I would say, automatic, just because people were believing in decentralized ecosystem. Because let's say, let's take an example. Let's say India has gone through emergencies or something like that. So the media has been shut down. So that, media outreach can't be done through the centralized platforms. Maybe with decentralized platforms like IPFS, if you upload it on IPFS, you get the CID. And these CIDs cannot be blocked by anyone. Let's say gateway can be blocked, but the CIDs cannot be blocked. So this can be viewed by anyone else as well. Even recent times as well, the government is using some emergency power to block some podcasts from outside the world. But then too, some folks have been uploading it, so that can be visible in India as well. So I think since the initial days of IPFS, the community is self-driven altogether. The building, if you see on the IPFS GitHub, altogether there are many folks, even I think there are many folks who are sitting here as well, they have even contributed there. So builders altogether has supported a lot in the IPFS infrastructure building altogether, and further adoption rate, I would say, is quite good. Of course, the speed limit and all that stuff people face, even now they face, but of course things are working well, even the infrastructure with community we are building. So hopefully things will work how the general centralized platform is even working in later on future. So yeah, let's see.
Got it. Cool. So, we'll mix it up a little bit, and I'll ask a few individual questions as well. Priyashu, coming to bridges, 2022 has been a year where we've seen a lot of things happen. It's been the year of quote unquote purification. A lot of protocols have imploded, etc. Bridges too have gone through their ups and downs. Bridges, of course, solve an extremely valuable piece of the puzzle, but they've gone through their ups and downs. I wanted to hear your views on what do you think will be the end state? Which approach for bridging will eventually work, which will scale well, and at the same time, which will be more secure and safe, given everything that's happened with a few bridges in the past. So what do you think is the end state for bridges?
In 2022, almost half of the entire hacks of the world were of bridges. And that was like a very good validation that this is a good problem to solve. In 2020, when we started building bridges, 99% of the TVL was on Ethereum. Fast forward 2022, less than 60% of the TVL is on Ethereum. 40% of the TVL went to other chains, including Near, Polygon, Avalanche, BSC, etc. And that put us into a situation where we realized that what we are building has to be very safe and secure. And then we envisioned a new version of router v2. And what that is essentially a blockchain in itself. Because, if you see, the only way to achieve true decentralization, which has worked on a scale in the industry so far, is with the help of a blockchain. So why not decentralize the bridge with the help of a blockchain? So that is why we are building a POS blockchain, which will be coming out next quarter. And in that, there will be security powered by the economics of the token. The same logic which secures the Ethereum network currently after the POS upgrade. And by doing that, I think that we have a robust ecosystem of hundreds and thousands of validators. They'll have economic incentives to safeguard the ecosystem, and they'll get incentives if they behave honestly, and they'll get their tokens slashed if they behave maliciously. And with all that in mind, I think POS is tried and tested mechanism to secure something, and that is the approach we are taking to decentralize the router bridge. And I think that should work out.
Got it. You know, it's very interesting. A lot of us as builders, a lot of companies in the Web3 space, they started off, even though they were solving Web3 problems, they started off taking a slightly more centralized approach. Now, more and more, what we're hearing is they're taking much more of a decentralized approach to even solve the Web3 problems, which made sense. And I think it's just part of evolution of the industry as well.
That is right. We started with the POA bridge, that is proof of authority. In proof of authority, I mean, it's typically the protocol which is selecting the bridges, like who will be the validators. But that is not the right way, because that can be corrupted. Protocol can elect all of the members of itself, and that can make it a single point of failure. So we figured out that we have to decentralize, and hence the V2. It's very important to decentralize, otherwise the entire everything about Web3 goes for a toss.
Got it. Ayush, let me ask you a question around L1s, L2s, and there's a question on my mind, as I'm sure is a question on a lot of people's minds. L1, L2s, the battle has heated up, you know, especially in 2022 after the upgrade.
Absolutely.
L2s have done a phenomenal job. New L1s like Aptos and Sui coming out as well. Again, what do you think is the end state for this whole L1, L2 ecosystem? Will it be a winner-take-all? Will there be one or two chains that will survive? Will there be application-specific chains? What do you think will be the end state, one? And two, what's the framework you use in mind in terms of what approach do you think will stand the test of time? And what kind of L1s, L2s will stand the test of time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to summarize in a few words. But I think, as you said, there is a huge battle going on right now. The majority of 22 was about alternative L1s coming in because they were cheaper alternatives to chains like Ethereum. Even Polygon today, it's a side chain, it's not really a roll-up per se. But now we are seeing Polygon coming up with ZK EVM roll-up, Arbitrum and Optimism launching. So now the battle between the L1s and L2 has really started, in this particular year. Because L2s offer the same scalability and speed benefits that alternative L1s like, Near, Terra or Solana were offering, earlier. Having said that, what is going to stand out? I think the most important thing that's going to stand out is technology. When I talk about Near specifically, I think we are the only network which hasn't seen any downtime in history of our blockchain history. We had Sweatcoin, which had more than 100 million users, but we never even saw 1 second of downtime. And compare it to Solana and even Polygon, I see so many DeFi applications where the liquidations will not trigger and the user will not get the right money just because there was some reorgs happening on the Polygon chain. So these issues are prominent everywhere. And that is why I think if you want to create an enterprise level blockchain, which gives you that smooth user experience compared to your Web2 counterparts like AWS or Google Cloud, you need to be robust on a technology part. So that's number one. Number two, I think, like we were talking about earlier, who's going to bring that mass adoption in place? And I think, bringing developers, via multiple languages, using likes of JavaScript and, Solidity as well, I think that is going to be another way of kind of, who does this better. I think Ethereum has huge network effects. I think nobody can deny that. The ethos of Ethereum is something we all imbibe. We see Ethereum as our big brother, not essentially as a competitor. Even though, I think Near has done exceptionally well on sharding. I think we are 2 years ahead of Ethereum when it comes to sharding. The entire reason why rollups came in the first place was because Ethereum could not scale via sharding. It will take them too long to do that. So rollups came in, and obviously it's a very novel concept. But I think, we are still in the early phase of adoption. We are still in the early phase of who's going to win. I believe there will definitely be an alternative L1 as well, along with Ethereum, along with maybe rollups or whatever architecture is coming. But we will definitely see one or more alternative layer ones as well with their own niches, which will come up, which will basically succeed in the future.
And the niches would be functional niches, like someone would do a really good job in gaming, someone in NFTs. Would they be functional niches, or how do you think about it?
It depends. I think the niches could be more application based also. Like for example, there are certain chains which are more equipped to, let's say, handle DeFi. For example, synchronous architecture. Where basically, you are, taking a token, borrowing a loan on Aave and then using it on Uniswap and having that one transaction in one block itself. is more suited for DeFi. Okay, but when it comes to, let's say, different blockchains coming together, that how it happens on Cosmos today. I think there will be multiple blockchain ecosystems which will come up, suited for different use cases. And, like I said, some might be more suited for DeFi, some might be more suited for, let's say, high frequency trading, some might be more suited for gaming, for instance, and some might win enterprises more than others. So there'll be niches according to me. Yeah.
Cool, understood. I guess, Pranchu, the question I had about the push protocol was, and a big theme throughout this day has been usability, and that's going to be a big theme, I think, over the next 1 or 2 years. So far, the theme was more around scalability. Now that we've crossed at least one threshold when it comes to scalability, the next theme that people are trying to solve for is usability, especially when it comes to notifications. How do you see? What are some of the biggest challenges in solving for usability for the notification use case? And for the notification use case, do you think usability will be as good as Web 2 or even better than Web 2? How do you think about it?
Got it. I guess when we were mentioning it will be as good as Web 2 or not. So first thing was there was no notification in the Web 3 previously, like when we were trying to build. So usability comes I guess even Sumit mentioned in this talk that in Web 3 we have to build real world use case, right? Let's say if you want to use something, or if you wanted to get onboarded over something. So it should have some real use case. That's why you will keep using. Maybe some incentivization or something may get you onboarded for a while, but to be a constant user or someone who keeps on using that means it have some real world use cases, right? Now taking a step back, I guess even I mentioned this while explaining what push protocol is, that in Web3, we don't have any sort of communication previously, right? For example, as a user of a Web3, I've been using a lot of dApps, right? But it's not even feasible for me that, every time I open my laptop and maybe browse, okay, this is my liquidation state in the DeFi. Or, okay, my ENS name domain may be getting expired or something like that. So coming to the usability is something, if you have a real use case, I guess it is not that hard to convince or at least get user onboarded over that. So I guess that's what I wanted to sum it up.
Got it. So be at least as good, and I guess time will tell if it will be even better than Web 2, the usability, especially for the notification use case.
Yeah, one thing is, the reason is because even the infra you see while delivering these notifications and everything, it's not something centralized, right? So maybe you can integrate, or those can create censorship or anything can be done because those are empowered by the centralized entity, sorry. But these are mostly decentralized notification. Even the storage layer is decentralized. So you see there is no single authority who is controlling that and everything. Even they are secret notice. So that means even we as a company cannot read those. So that is, I guess, additional features or the benefits over a Web 2 notice.
Got it. Understood. Piyush, maybe one question for you is, and this is a question that I've had in my mind as well, is that when it comes to storage in the Web 2 space, cloud providers like AWS, Azure, etc., have done a phenomenal job of building the infrastructure, squeezing the last bit of efficiency and juice out of it. Now with blockchain, and when you think about storage and blockchain, while blockchain brings a lot of benefits to the ecosystem in terms of their trustless nature, decentralized, etc., one disadvantage is you got to maintain multiple copies of the same piece of data for it to work. So there are some disadvantages when it comes to storage and even compute for that matter. But when you talk about storage, just from a pure cost basis and from a cost perspective, do you think decentralized storage protocols, architectures will be able to compete with the centralized storage architectures on a pure cost basis, not on their trustless nature, but on a cost basis?
Yeah, we are already doing it. Basically, if you compare with AWS, we are 0.005% of what AWS is charging. So it's super cheap, no doubt on it. Because when it comes to Filecoin is using proof of space time. as well as proof of replicacy. So the competition between storage providers or miners in Filecoin network is super high. That's why the price of storage goes down. And yeah, on terms of price, we are competing very, at a high scale, no doubt. But I think when it comes to competing with their infra, that's damn sure what AWS has built. Like they have Lambda functions, they have whatnot, like the S3 buckets and all that. So even those infra is built on top, are going to build on top of Filecoin. Like even Web3.storage or similar solution like Lighthouse.storage, which is an Indian company. So these guys are even trying to build a solution which is sort of similar what AWS has already. So I think with these toolings, things might be very easy to onboard user, because directly if one user want to store it on Filecoin, it's tricky. It's easy though, but directly using, let's say we take example of NFT.storage or Web3.storage, these are just API tools. So anyone who doesn't know about Web3, they can even use it. So I think we want to make more such kind of tools so that adoption can be increased. And yeah, I think many tools are even coming. So hopefully seeing for them. Let's see.
Got it, got it. And just coming back to the, and just staying for a second longer on the question of cost. I was always under the assumption that when you're running data centers at scale, the economies of scale that you get, and on top of that, the kind of efficiency AWS has squeezed out of their machines, versus let's say if there are miners, validators, individuals providing their space to the network, to the Filecoin network and to the IPFS network, their infra may not be as efficient as, let's say, an AWS. And it'll be difficult to compete with the infra of an AWS just on a pure storage basis. But what you're saying is today on a cost basis, not on a price, but on a cost basis, you're already more efficient than an AWS. And what I'm curious about is, what's the fundamental reason why you're more efficient than an AWS, given how efficiently an AWS data center is run?
So let's say AWS data center has lots of machines. Compared to that if we see a Filecoin storage provider, they even run machines, but their machines are more efficient as compared to that of AWS as well. Because of course they have to compete, they have to win, because data is economy for them. So they are competing very hardly. Their infrastructure as compared to that of AWS is quite cheap as well. Even we are helping them out because we even have our own SP, like a storage provider group. So there are 4,000 plus storage providers or data centers altogether, not data centers specifically, storage provider or miners in Filecoin. Even we are increasing them by educating them. There is even a training going on which is known as ESPA, which is basically training for the storage provider onboarding, how they can get it more cheap, how they can get the perfect infrastructure so that will be suited for their, let's say if you want some gigs of storage as well. Let's say if I want to become a storage provider and want maybe just 50 GB of storage capacity only, then that too can be, I have to go through the training so that I can get a perfect infra so that it will be cheap and I can get a maximum output from it while earning, while storing and earning Filecoin as a mining reward. So I think these trainings and all that stuff are going well. So through these, we are facilitating the storage providers and getting them funded as well so that they can, achieve what they want to achieve. Yeah.
Got it. Understood. Great. Maybe just one or two quick rapid fire kind of questions. And these will be more forward looking than backward looking. 2017 was the year of ICOs. 2019-20 was the year of DeFi. 2020-21, we saw the explosion of NFTs. 2022 was the implosion of DeFi in some ways. So the year 2023, if I were to ask you guys in one word or a few words, what do you think will be the kind of key crypto trend in 2023? Of course, this is all a hypothesis, but what's your opinion? And maybe we'll just start from.
I think even in previous panels, some mentioned compute, and I agree with that. So compute as well as scalability of functionalities, even we are building some. Like even like compute will be like, let's say Filecoin is one layer, FVM is second layer. Then on top of it, off-chain storage solutions will be building like Bacalhau, which is a compute over data layer. So they are even trying to solve like the AI specifically, let's say, if even chat GPT is there. So maybe a chat GPT kind of model can be built on top of, Bacalhau, where you can play with AI. Let's say if you have some Panda libraries or if you have created your own libraries, so you can, code with that specific Bacalhau. There are many examples even available. You can test it out. So with that, you can run your own compute layer. Maybe other compute layers will be there. So I'm very much bullish on that. And second is for sure for scalability. One which even built under Protocol Labs, Consensus Labs, where we are building interplanetary consensus, which is for both vertical scaling as well as horizontal scaling. So what Polygon is doing right now, it's committing on Ethereum, but they are just doing a vertical one. But we want both. Let's say if you want to create multiple, let's say Filecoin is right now, but let's say if you want to create multiple chains or commit chains on top of Filecoin. So these commit chains can be scalable both in both manners, like in vertical as well as horizontal. So let's say you can create not infinite, but maybe 10 or 15 or something like that. So or copies of Filecoin. So these can be created further. They will be scalable on horizontal level as well. So I think I'm bullish on these two specs.
Got it, got it. So scalability will continue to be the theme for 2023. I think we've crossed one threshold, but what you're talking about is, just taking it to the next level.
Yeah, for sure, because of course the user, end user, they are using tooling. So toolings, of course, need scalability. So of course the protocol has to scale a lot.
Got it, got it. Priyashu, what's your opinion?
I think self-custody and decentralization. I mean, we're going back to the basics, but I think like if there's one thing 2022 highlighted, it was that the things which claim to be decentralized are not really decentralized, and the custody which you are supposed to have, you typically don't have. So I think this is a year when we go back to the basics and sort out these fundamental problems, where self-custody becomes even more important and people start to take actual control of what they want to do.
Correct, correct. And that's some of the thinking behind Octo as well as a product, being a centralized exchange, launching a product like Octo. We do, I don't think anyone knows what the end state will be in terms of the mix of decentralized versus centralized, self-custody versus custodying with someone else and the convenience that you get from it. Whether it'll be 90-10, 80-20, 60-40 or 40-60, no one knows what the end state is. But the reality, like you said, is there is demand for self-custody. And I completely agree. I think next year we'll see a lot of movement to self-custody, and that could be one of the levers, if you can make that convenient, that could be one of the levers of getting the next kind of, couple of 100 million people into DeFi.
And I think, I completely agree with you. And I think Octo is very serious about all of this, because they're also working with our team to add decentralized bridging and swaps. So, very bullish on that.
Cool. What's your opinion, Ayush?
Yeah, Rohit. So, I would differentiate from your view that since you called 2022 as the implosion of DeFi, I think it was implosion of CeFi. And it sets the right base for DeFi now. So self-custody, like
sure.
Priyashu was mentioning, and DeFi 2.0, I think are going to be the themes for this year specifically. I think what we are seeing, what we saw earlier was the DeFi experience was very fragmented and broken. Now, if we have really good DeFi front ends, if we have DEX aggregators, keyless access wallets like Octo, I think we can really onboard a lot of users, not through centralized exchanges this time, but directly, using DeFi or self-custody methods. And that is going to be a huge theme. Other theme that I think is going to be tested this year is going to be the mass market, the mass adoption. And this time, I think you're already seeing a lot of brands like, Reddit, Instagram, Starbucks, already embracing Web3, right? And I think you will see much more of this. You will see a lot more brands practicing and experimenting with Web3. And this will be another, funnel through which we will get a lot of Web2 users. And again, with the great user experience part that I was mentioning, which was not probably available earlier because we were too much focused on speculation and, centralized experiences.
Got it. Understood. Your opinion, Pranchu?
Sure. I guess for me, it's user experience, because till now what we did is we basically solved a problem in the Web2 or centralized system. We created DeFi for that, or all the application that have some issue. But, to onboard user or to make like experience much better, we have to improve UX. And that like specifically includes like account abstraction, social recovery, and communication. So for example, like I guess like the closest thing, like how we usually sign or like how we usually interact is like, you know, privately. Or I guess like multi-sig is the best option as of now. But again, like, you know, if I have to sign the transaction and if the thing is 5:9, then I have to communicate with them, okay, you know, please sign this transaction. There is a delay. But let's say like social recovery can solve that issue. If I have guardians, I can of course recover my keys at any time, but I can do the transaction in a seamless way. And I guess like the keyless feature I really like about the Octo.
Got it.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So you know, if I were to summarize, I'd say scalability, usability, you know, getting back to the basics of DeFi and self-custody would be some key trends that we'll see in 2023. And I think Gaurav, you know, sitting in front is smiling because that is fundamentally the vision and the reason why we are doing Octos. So I think with that, we can probably bring this panel to a close. I thank all of you for joining me in this panel. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give up a big round of applause. What a great session it has been. Up next, we have presentation by Kavya Prasad, founder of Lumos Labs, where she will be presenting her thoughts on how developers and Web3 companies can harness Lumos. Let's give up a big round of applause for her. Right, she is right here. Oh my God, just take this. This should be enough.
Okay. Hey, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces here. So people who participate in our hackathon, some of the winners are here as well. So I know a lot of people are wearing the Filecoin hoodie. So you all have seen this presentation at the Filecoin Bangalore event as well. But for those of you who are new, hi, I'm Kavya. I am the founder of Lumos Labs, and I'm essentially going to walk you through our product, right? And before I start off, I wanted to do like a quick round of, show of hands. How many of you are new to, Web3? Like, how many of you are here as, your first Web3 event? That is lies. Okay. Okay, quite a few of you. Okay. And how many of you are developers here? And would you say you're a blockchain developer right now? Awesome. Nice. That's a few people here. Awesome. So we have something for everybody, right? If you are a newbie in the Web3 space, even if you're a new developer, like learning JavaScript right now, we have something for all of you here with the product that we're building, right? So a little bit about Lumos. We started back in, sorry, just went back. Yeah, we started back in 2018 when, blockchain was a very, very new concept. The word Web3 wasn't even coined. And what we wanted to do, or, our mission was to essentially get more developers into this ecosystem, right? At the end of the day, we talk about Web3, we talk about cryptocurrencies, but then the underlying layer is the technology, which is blockchain, and that is only built by engineers. So it is an engineering movement at the end of the day. So we wanted to get more engineers to start building and innovating in the space. We did this through several different innovation programs, hackathons, accelerator programs, education drives within colleges. And we have, in the last 3 years, been able to deploy 10 million in the hands of developers and startups through our programs. We've also been able to gain a 60K community and also have run over 50 programs with different blockchains out there, right? So as a story kind of went forward, we realized that as a company who's doing like programs, it's very hard for us to scale and go global. We want engineers from across the globe to see the, philosophy that blockchain is all about and actually build for that, for the philosophy as opposed to the money or, the crypto that you get or the incentives, right? So there were a couple of problems in the areas that we, in the developer space that we saw that we thought we could fill with a product. One was that access to opportunities right now are very scarce. How many of you find it easy to find opportunities in the Web3 space? You need to get into like one ecosystem and then you're kind of sucked into that one ecosystem, right? So Polygon has, 10s or 20 programs out there and you kind of end up in that ecosystem alone. But there is a huge world out there, right? There are so many layer 1s, layer 2s. We saw a couple from the panel that went on right now. And the idea is to kind of bring all of these opportunities and make discovery easier for developers, right? So we kind of wanted to build a product that aggregated all the opportunities together. The second thing is identities. I'm sure most of you face this problem where your identities are super scattered. You have your GitHub, profile, you have LinkedIn, you have Gitcoin, Stack Overflow, and I could keep going. But having like a one identity that makes it very easy for you to discover each other and also makes job opportunities come towards you in an easier manner is very important. And we want to build an on-chain identity for developers where they can add everything that they do from contest winnings to, degrees or NFTs you've gotten through like learning programs in one place, right? And this way you can also find teammates because we have noticed that hackathons have a big problem in where, developers aren't able to build a team that works for them. Some may have a front-end development experience and you want to look for a back-end dev, but you don't know where to look for them. And we want to make that easier as well, right? Even if you want to start a product. And the last thing is, of course, developers are scarce and we want to kind of increase that pie, right? So I was just listening to the panel and whoever was listening to that panel, they spoke about the Web3 developer ecosystem and how, everybody wants to tap into that ecosystem. But then there is a huge number of people and this ecosystem is just about 300K, right? We have over 20 million developers in the world. Who's going to kind of get that bigger pie in, right? And that is one of our biggest missions. Getting more people to, learn about the technology and start exploring opportunities. So we're kind of trying to make that pie bigger. With that being said, what we're essentially building is a world for developers. It's a gamified ecosystem on the metaverse, so you get to have an avatar, you get to sport it, for different organizations that have set up their headquarters in the metaverse, and you essentially get to, showcase your resume as an NFT, right? So this is a place for developers to upskill, learn, earn, network with people, find opportunities, build your resume, and build a tribe for yourself. And on the other end, this is a two-sided product, is Web3 companies that are looking for tech talent, right? To contribute to their ecosystem, to build products on the ecosystem, or even participate in the programs that they're sort of running. So what companies get to do is set up their developer headquarters where they put out all their developer-centric opportunities and also interact with the developers that come in. I did try that. 1 second. Okay. Anyway, so, and companies can also host community events and workshops in the metaverse. So this also makes it a very gamified way for you to learn, right? There are achievements for everything that you do. You get points for, every upskilling opportunity you have. If you win a hackathon, you kind of level up. And as you level up, you get better opportunities and better, say, work, like work postings or job postings, and also access to separate events that you can essentially get into. So I am not going to go through both the tours, so I'm going to take the developer tour because I am seeing most of you being developers here. So this is a quick walkthrough about what the metaverse looks like, right? And because we're building something that is so visually out there, I think it only makes sense to showcase what we're doing as opposed to explaining. So to start off with, the world is essentially built into a main central hub where the networking and the community events can happen. So this essentially is the central hub. And all the buildings that you see on the side would be company-run buildings, right? So as of now, we already have 3 brands on board when we launched the product. Polygon, Eternity, and Definity are already setting up their headquarters in the metaverse, and you would start seeing their opportunities come up right away. What you can also do is enter each of the buildings. So if you are curious to know about a particular chain, you can always enter that company's headquarters and check out the opportunities that they have. So a little bit about how that look and feel is. So essentially, the buildings are broken down into 3 segments. There's a learn room, earn room, and a get hired room. So if you are a new developer who wants to learn a particular program, you go into the learn room, and so on, right? And if you're already developing, go to the earn room, or if you're looking for a job, the recruitment or the hiring room. So you can also attend like community events. So there'd be meetups happening there. There'd be workshops, and instead of doing this on, say, a platform like Zoom where you don't get to network after, you actually get to see other people, look at their profiles, look what they're made of, and also maybe create teams, find your co-founder, CTO, I don't know. And we also have a collaboration layer on top where you can add friends, chat with people, and discover, other developers. So this works for both, right? Companies that are looking for developers, and we're breaking it down to a level where we also know what their coding skill sets are like, which chains they've contributed to. So you can also find that ideal, persona to essentially work with. So this is what, the profile kind of looks like. We've broken this down into personal info, skills, career, achievements, and NFTs. So this essentially helps you get a 360-degree view of one developer, right? Everything from like the languages they know to all the repos that they have. And yeah, you can essentially showcase this in the world. So in terms of the product development, and I have a prototype, but that's going to take a while, and I only have 10 minutes. So we are in the internal testing phase right now, and we are fixing bugs within the product. But in 2 weeks, we should have the product ready for the beta testing. We have a whitelist open, and we have about 700 people already whitelisted, 5,000 people that have registered, and we are looking for other developers. So if you haven't already whitelisted, please just scan the code and apply, and we'd love to have you on the metaverse. So yeah, this is basically what we are building. So thanks, everyone. Will you do that?
Thank you, Kavya, for such a wonderful presentation. Let's give it up a big round of applause. Moving on, it's time for our first workshop for the day. Sapphire is accelerating dApp development, a hands-on workshop on building dApps with Sapphire's decentralized hosting solutions conducted by Prashant Maurya. He is the co-founder and the CEO of Sapphire. Sweron. During this session, Sweron will talk about its decentralized hosting solutions and how leveraging Sweron's ecosystem and strategic partners enable Web3 developers to develop infrastructure quickly and effectively. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Prashant Maurya on the stage. Let's give up a big round of applause for him.
I hope I'm audible. This mic is working. All right. There is PPT which has to run. Let's wait for it. But till the time it gets started, let's try to entertain ourselves as well. And the entertainment goes with Sweron. it just came now. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining today. I believe I'll not try to bore you up with a lot of technical, in-depth knowledge. My plan was to show you also the demo, but unfortunately, we'll try to connect our laptop if it works. If it's not, then we are very simple to use. So you guys can go ahead and use it as well. So you don't need us, like telling you. But starting with Spheron first, before we go to the next part, which is bringing the next million developers to Web3 infra. I don't know how many of you might be hearing this many of times, like people are talking about bringing millions of retail users, bringing millions of DeFi users, bringing millions of that users, but what we are talking about is bringing the millions of developers who are really going to change the industry as such with their skill sets, with their lot of things, and that is where Spheron basically lies into. I wanted to put this picture because we were looking good. We like spent around 5,000 rupees on taking this picture, so we thought like we'll put that. So with me, Mitrashis, and I, like we started working in multiple companies. It is just again, these things doesn't matter in crypto as such, because ultimately the one thing which matters in crypto is like how cool builder you are. So and then we are. So that is where about us. Coming to this slide, the data which is you are able to see here. There are a few things which really kicked us when we started building Spheron as such. The first data was around Amazon Web Services started experiencing another bigger outages. And then, how many of you DeFi users here? Just raise your hand, like have you ever used DeFi? Okay. Do you know one of the biggest scale or the security risk which can happen on a user interface side? If you don't, then go and check out the news, Rect Finance, you can find out there. You can also go to, even recently, OpenSea also, their user interface was compromised, I believe, and there were a lot of people who have lost their NFTs as well. And at Spheron, we have been talking about it for a very long time. Like I believe it started 3 years back, and since then we were trying to like educate people about DeFi, multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry which we are talking about is all sitting on a front end, right? And most of these people are trying to access this front end from their laptops, which is again very prone to attack. How exactly we are going to mitigate and how exactly we are going to innovate into that area. And that is where we started building Spheron. Some of times I personally receive a lot of questions around one thing, which is, hey, you know what? I want to use Web3, but the problem is it's like its user interface is so bad, like I don't want to go and use that. So let's say today, if I ask you, I don't know like how many of you are the founders here and like users of a DeFi, but have you ever thought of going to hosting the web app? I believe even before my talk, Kavya was speaking, and then before Kavya, there was a panel in which Piyush was also there from the Filecoin team. How many of you will realize like Filecoin can also be used for hosting your web applications? Most likely, if you are a builder, yes, the answer must be like you must be knowing it. But did you ever went and tried it out on your own? The reason might be no. The reason might be is because of the bad UX, and I can just count on multiple things, right? And that is where we saw a problem and we saw an opportunity to start building this Spheron. The biggest challenge which we saw to the people was around the steep learning curve itself. So if you see that diagram which we put there, it was a steep learning curve, is going to take immense time to go and learn these protocols. And that, is it like really you are going to put that much of amount of time to learn all of these things? In reality, in theory, yes, because everyone has to write something on the paper. I can go also write like tons of things on the paper. But in practicality, the moment you land into the web application, the user experience and everything just sucks up, right? And that is when you start deviating from there. The second thing which we realized was around the developers ecosystem was around automation, right? I believe WhatsApp also opened up the API recently to build the automation. So automation is basically like it introduces more composability. I know composability might also get restricted because of the automation as well, but automation is the crucial part of any developer's life, not even developer's life, like everyone's our life as well. So today Tesla became like so much popular, like most of you sitting here might be knowing about Tesla. The reason Tesla became very popular because they brought the automation into the automotive industry, right? So just change the word automotive to automation. And that is how it all started. And now from green energy to whatever energy, everything brought in, and everyone in the industry now talking about them. And most of you sitting here might be knowing about them as well. So automation plays a very vital role when it comes to developers' life as well. So we wanted to make sure like automation is there. The third part, which I unfortunately clicked this play button. So the third part was around the wallet integration. The wallet was basically like, how many of you use self-custody wallet? Raise the hand. Like, very few. So I'll highly recommend to go and do that. The reason being, if you have not seen FTX, if you have not seen yet a lot of things, which I'll not take the names here, go and do that. You should go to your wallet and migrate your assets to your self-custody if you feel like that particular exchange or some one is like playing faulty. Now coming to the second part, around the same wallet system. If you are making money in crypto, the most likelihood you should be also spending money in crypto. Is this statement is correct or wrong? Like if you guys agree on this or not. All right. So half of you agree, half of not. So which basically means like we have to like debate about it along. But in reality, once you start, let's say if I'm in India, I have to start spending my money in Indian currency in order to make sure like India becomes more and more like robust into their own economics. And recently you might have also seen like Russia and all this thing which happened. So reliability on the financial system is something very important where you are going to spend your own money into the ecosystem. And that is where wallet plays a very vital role. So we wanted to build an infrastructure where you can go and pay for your infrastructure without off-ramping your crypto. What does that mean? That basically means like you don't have to go and off-ramp your crypto. You make your money whichever chain you want to, connect your wallet and pay from that. It's a pure on-chain SaaS model which we have opened up for the first time into the infra space. Coming to the latest usability of the platform, as I said, when we started building the Spheron, there was few things which we already kept into mind was around making the user experience to the level which people can just only imagine with the Web3 infrastructure. And that is where we started building the thought process around like how we can make it more simpler. We came up with the thought process called 3 clicks deployment. What does that mean is like you only have to do 3 simple steps, like going with 1, 2nd, and 3rd, and your web application, your infra, your compute, whatever you're looking for should be live and running. And when I say that, that basically means your infra is not going to be running on AWS. Your infra is not going to be running on GCP. When I say all of these things, your infra via Spheron will be running on decentralized infrastructures like Filecoin, like Arweave, like Akash, like whatnot. So we are the aggregation layer. And that is where we started building this new concept called let's build an infra aggregation layer and expose it very nice UX and US experience which has 3 clicks deployment experiences. And that is where Spheron comes into the picture. I can challenge here also on the stage as well by sitting here, like you can also claim me, like once I'm out, you can go and talk to me as well. You can log into a system. If you have a web application, React, Angular, whatever you are building in, just click 3 buttons. I'm literally telling you it will be live on IPFS. And it is that simple. So this is what we have built at Spheron, and it is going into different direction as well. Now we are into compute. Soon you are going to see us in multiple places as well. This was actually the demo, and we got the demo. If Mitrashis, if you can, so my co-founder is there at the back. He will share the screen. So the intent of this demo is not to like bore you, but the intent of the demo is also to let you know is like what we are speaking here. It is in reality, it is true. It is not something which we just spoke and will be out. It is something which is live. You can go ahead and use and promote Web3 infra as such, because you guys are attending this entire meetup, and Namaste India is going to be like, I believe it is going to be more successful coming days. So if you are going to be in the Namaste India, then most likely, if it is Namaste Web3, then you should be using Web3 infra as well to host most of the things. So make sure you guys do that. Mitrashis, is it possible to share? All right, let's wait. All right, till the time they are sharing it, let me ask a couple of more questions. How many of you have ever realized in Fura or any of the MetaMask whichever you use, basically that RPC, they track your IP addresses? I ask these questions like always. How many of you know this? I believe you guys must have known when, after they announced, or some people just pointed it out. Oh, so then you for sure, right? Now imagine when you claim yourself being a decentralized infrastructure, then why you are even tracking somebody else's like location? When you are serving the intent of the RPC is to execute your command. This is what I like imagine in my solution architecture term, is to execute a command. So if to execute a command, do you really know a person like where exactly is staying at, right? In reality, you don't. So these are the couple of things which when all of these came together in our head, and then we realized, okay, this is now how exactly it can be worked around. If we are building into the Web3, it has to have certain components of Web3 attached to it, where the traceability should not be there, okay. So I was getting the hand from there like it was shared. Traceability is not there. People should not be directly recognized, and a lot of these things should not happen. So these are the places where decentralized infra is going to play a very vital role. And I request and I urge everyone is like, once you go back, there are a few questions I'll leave you with after this entire session once it's ended. And these questions are for your own retrospection, because we all are doing the Web3 series here, right? So the first question which you should ask to yourself is like, if you are going to be using AWS today for hosting your business, are you really justifying the Web3 narrative? That is one question. The second question is like, if we are talking about decentralized finance, do we really want to go into the same rabbit hole when we were developing the decentralized finance into the Web2 world, where we started building the bank, the federal systems, and all of those things, which started regulating and becoming the money behemoth of the money, where all this money are sitting around, right? Do you really want that to happen? If all of these questions, just go back and retrospect into yourself, and then try to, once I believe Namaste Web3 is going to be happening in Delhi as well soon, which I heard from Anjali. So most likely, if we'll catch up with you guys there, if I'll be there, I'd love to hear your thought around like, did you have done those retrospection or not? And really looking forward to those. Mitrashis, any updates? Done? All right. Can you project this on this screen? Let me know if it is visible. I'll be a little aside. All right. I love this dashboard. Like, this dashboard has been my baby for a very long time. So go to the homepage, Mitrashis, please. Yeah. I will not go to the landing page, because landing page is like more of a marketing jargon, but I'll come to the real thing, which is there, which you guys are going to be using it. If you see this dashboard, there's nothing which is fancy written here. Connect your wallet, connect your that, connect your this, nothing. The reason being because most of these million developers which we are talking about, and always I receive this question whenever I talk about decentralized, like, you are only using GitHub. Then why not directly allow people to go and log in via MetaMask and do that? The reason being because there is a lot of, our BAP, I call it in Hindi, like our BAP is Google and Chrome. The moment they feel, and a lot of people who have building into the storage space and all this space, they can understand what I'm speaking here. Their domains get blocked. A lot of things which happens like, which will totally derail their entire journey of the startup. So that is the reason we have put this filter first. The second thing is like, all of these three names which you are seeing here, it is one of the biggest into the space in terms of developers. And that is the reason they are also there. And we are very much in a collaboration and talk with multiple decentralized repositories as well. Once they go live, they will also be here. So we don't differentiate on that angle. So if you have a GitHub, go ahead and continue with the GitHub. The moment you click on it, it will be very simple login. If you have already logged in, it will just redirect you to the dashboard. If you see this dashboard, the Mitash is which so he has like tons of organizations, which means like he might have been working with these many organizations. So you can go to any of the organizations which you have created there, and then once you are into this, there are few things which you will find, right? But I'll show you one interesting thing. Is around the billing, which I was talking about, the on-chain payment. Go to the billing methods, and if you go and see there, now the Web3 elements, I don't want to connect you because your wallet or these things will be exposed. So let's not do that. But this is how exactly the billing looks like. Now, if you see this screen, I'm telling you again, just see this screen. I have not connected my wallet. I have not connected any Web3 stuff yet. Go back to dashboard and let's launch a user interface via Spheron on IPFS and let's see how it works. Either IPFS or Filecoin on RV, like whatever we support today. And how easy it is going to look like. So this is how it will be. You can go and select your repositories. Most of the coders are very used to of these kind of libraries. So he's going to deploy this VV. It is an email. Yeah, let's go with the Filecoin. And do we need to pass anything else? Okay, so you can select your own branch, whatever branch you might be deploying. I know this must be not familiar with a lot of people like who are not into coding, but these are certain masalas which you have to put in order to make, to basically cook the recipe. Okay, so these are the masalas for the developers. Just go ahead and hit on deploy now. All right, hope it should not break because sometimes whenever you do such kind of workshop, it's a software and it happens, but it is working. So now what is happening is, there was also a very cool video I had. Unfortunately, I was not able to share that. What is happening in the background is your code is getting built without you manually getting involved. Your code is going to get deployed on IPFS. You can go to any of the section, like on the organization, the old section with Rashish, any old organizations, which has already deployed version of a web application. Yeah, till the time it is getting deployed, he'll come back and show you like it worked. But it is going to take around a minute or two. Just to see that screen here, and that is what we highly speak about. When we say Spheron, it's a combination of Web 2 and the Web 3. When I say Web 2 and Web 3, it does not mean like we promote Web 2. We basically believe in Web 2 should be our stepping stone, but Web 3 should be our end. Okay, this is what we personally believe in. And if you see this, if you click on View Deployment Preview now, the one thing which you are going to see is your application getting opened with the IPFS hash. You can take this hash, go to pin to any of the gateways out there and do whatever you want to. Okay, that is one thing. The second thing is we also give you Spheron dedicated CDN version, which is more centralized one, but it's up to you. Like, because most of your users are going to be in the Web 2 who will be like, you opening it might be from the browser. So you need these human readable versions until and unless the innovation kicks into the level where P2P resolution on the browser level exists. So that is where these things comes into the picture. Now go back to, again, the same or older organization which we had. It might have been got deployed. Once that happens, right, in the same scenario, you can choose any Web3 infra out there. It can be whatever we support today. And that is where Spheron lies into. And that is what we have learned over the time is your data should be either today or tomorrow has to go to Web3 infrastructure, or else you are going to feel the thrust of the security flaws which Web2 has in a Web3. And that is going to keep on drilling down, and that is keep on coming into the system. So this is it from our side, and then there is a compute and all of those things which you guys can go and definitely take a look. I'll not get deeper into that, but these are the couple of things which we wanted to demo you as well. And wanted to leave you with the question is like why you should today, once you go back, open your web applications, whatever you are interactive in a DeFi, try to see if they are using centralized version of a deployment model or decentralized version of a deployment model. If so, you should go and ask them. I'm not telling they should come and use Spheron. I'm the promoter of Web3. Spheron is a product which promotes the Web3. So my job here is to let you guys know why IPFS, Filecoin, RV based deployments, why decentralized compute, and these things are important for you and for your business and for your personal wealth you must be holding into those wallets. So let's get back to PPT and let's see if there is something else into that. Most likely it must not be, but yeah, these are the things. So I'll pause here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to just catch me outside. I'll not answer that here because I've already taken a lot of time I'm able to see. So thank you so much, guys, and have a happy hosting and happy deployment going forward in the Namaste Web3 event.
Thank you, Prashant, for such a brilliant workshop. Let's give up a big round of applause for him. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move on, if you haven't registered for Octo app already, then please visit the kiosk outside and explore the power of self-custody wallet. Thank you. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to be moving on to our next workshop, which is conducted by Pranjal Bhardwaj, Developer Relation Asia, Algorand Foundation for the next workshop. The Algorand Foundation's mission is to enable an inclusive, decentralized and borderless global economy at a scale based on the Algorand blockchain technology. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us here Pranjal Bhardwaj with his workshop on how to build dApps with Algorand. Let's give up a big round of applause for him.
I hope everyone can hear me fine. Yeah, let's, and I hope you guys are able to see my screen as well. Yeah, so yeah, let's get started with this. In this workshop or in this session, I'm going to be covering how you can get started with building dApps on Algorand and what are the basic things that you need to understand and what are the basic things that you need to know before you get started building on Algorand. So I hope you guys take away a bunch of knowledge today here that you can just maybe go back home and implement, and keep building on Algorand. So let's get started with this. So firstly, I want to discuss what is Algorand. Algorand is a layer 1 blockchain which was invented to kind of solve the blockchain trilemma, the very infamous blockchain trilemma that we have, which is that a blockchain cannot be secure, decentralized, or scalable at the same time. But our founder, Silvio Macali, kind of came up with a way in which, this problem can be solved. And the way it is done is through our unique consensus mechanism, which is called pure proof of stake. Now, to go more in details about who Silvio Macali is and what he's been up to. So he's a Turing Award winner, professor at MIT for about 25 years. He has invented several groundbreaking technologies within blockchain and cryptography. And one of the most notable ones are the VRFs, on which Algorand's consensus mechanism is based on. And he has also co-invented ZK proofs, which I think everyone already knows. So yeah, that's a little bit about him. And as I've already said, that our consensus mechanism is unique. It's not proof of stake. It's called pure proof of stake, and I'm going to be going over that in the following slides. But yeah, if I were to kind of summarize Algorand in one line, I would say that we are highly efficient. We are a scalable platform that can immediately finalize your transactions. So yeah, that's about it. Moving on to the ecosystem. Now, this chart over here, what I have right now is not the most updated one, but let me go over with some of the numbers that I have to share with you that shows the progress that we have done in the last year or so. So our ecosystem has been continuously growing since we have gone live. But just to give you more idea about what we have been up to in the last 1 year or so, we have opened more than 13 million new wallets on Algorand. We have had 10 times more of the sales volume on the NFT marketplaces, which are built on Algorand. We have had around 13 new games which were launched on the mainnet that everyone is kind of playing, and there's like great traction which is seen by the Algorand community over there. And we have had more than 17,000 developers who have been engaging with Algorand and the development on Algorand through different developer-focused programs and initiatives that we have. And we are also partnered with several universities to bring more education about blockchain and what are the good things of Algorand, and just to focus more towards research. And we have partnered with several universities, and that initiative of ours is called ACE program, or Algorand Centers of Excellence. Now, moving on to a very exciting use case that I think is very important for everyone to kind of understand, because it is like a real world problem that we are trying to solve here. So AgroToken is amazing example for that. I think it's going to be a great case study for me to present it to you all, because it has been acknowledged by the government of Argentina. There is a lot of media traction going on about this as well. So what AgroToken does is, AgroToken is a global agricultural commodities tokenization platform. So they created agro tokens for various different agricultural commodities like soy, corn, wheat, and they have created these tokens of soya, CORA for corn, and WHEA, which is the ticker for wheat. And they have done this in a very frictionless and a very secure way, and they have made the trading of these grains easier and more efficient and reliable with the good things and the good features that Algorand has to offer. Now, recently, AgroToken has also announced a partnership with Visa, which is to co-create a payment method that enables the agricultural producers to use their grains as a form of payment through a card. And Algorand blockchain, of course, will make all the operations very transparent, fast, secure, and of course, highly scalable, as we all say. And we are known to be very green because the energy consumption which is involved while you kind of transact and you build on Algorand is very minimal. So there is actually very low energy consumption, which makes Algorand ideal for these kind of use cases. Moving on to the specifics, what do I mean when I say fast? What do I mean when I say scalable or cheap or stability? So I think a good measure for fast is a block time, or you can say finality time, which basically tells us what is the time taken by a particular blockchain to finalize a particular transaction. And on Algorand, it's about 3.7 seconds. So when end user submits a transactions in about 3.7, or you can say 4 seconds, and you are sure that the transaction has been through or not, if it has been successful or it has been declined. And so a great thing about this is that you don't have to wait around for your transaction to confirm. You don't have to wait for your funds to arrive for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes. It is like an instantaneous settlement which is done over the blockchain. Number two would be scalable. So TPS, or transactions per second, I think is a very great measure of this, because we have not had any off-chain transactions. We have not had like the number that we are claiming, 6,000 TPS, is a purely on-chain transactions number that we have seen, and this is something that we have scaled up from around 1000 TPS, which was earlier last year. But yeah, towards the end of 2022 we have had 6000 TPS. And I mean, if you guys have seen it on Twitter, we have also had certain blocks where the transactions went up to around 10,000 TPS or even 14,000 TPS. So it gives us a lot of room to scale here. If the network suddenly has an influx of transactions coming in, I think we have a lot of room to kind of accommodate those transactions, and congestion would not happen. So yeah, another great thing. Then comes the point of cheap. As developers, we don't want to pay high gas fees or high transaction fees every time we are trying to deploy our applications, or every time we are trying to do certain smaller transactions, or we are making API calls. So usually all the transactions on Algorand blockchain will cost you about 0.001 algo, which is fraction of a cent. You don't have to worry about expensive gas fees, or where there's high demand on Ethereum. We have seen the gas prices shoot up, so you don't have to worry about those things at all. And even for smart contract calls, as I said, the fees are relatively low. So it just helps a lot of developers to get started and just build right off the bat. Now, coming to stability, we have had no downtime since the time we have gone live in 2018, and we are proud to say that we have had no downtime. We have had no sort of failure or outage since then. And if you are kind of looking to build an enterprise solution on Algorand, this is something that you would need. You would need reliability. You would need stability. You don't want your chain to shut down or for it to go down again and again, so that the end user or the end use case which is being built on top of it has to suffer later on. So we are very smart with the things that we are trying to do with Algorand. We are very cautious with whatever releases we do. We test it multiple times. We make sure there are no edge cases and there is no kind of chance of hacks or security breaches or downtime because of any sort of attack. So yeah, so we are extremely stable. Now, coming to decentralized, we have more than 3,000 nodes which are participating in consensus. We'll be going over consensus mechanism in the next slide, but just to give you numbers, we have more than like 3,000 nodes which are participating in consensus. And I think it's time we move on to the network and understand what's happening on network. So we have mainly three type of nodes on Algorand. We have the participation nodes, archival nodes, and relay nodes. Now, participation nodes are used for block proposals. These are the nodes which participate in consensus. These are the nodes which have any account linked with the participation key. They verify the state of the blockchain, and these nodes are ideally these nodes should be ideally as much as possible so that decentralization is maintained on blockchain. Then we have the archival nodes, which basically archival means that they will be storing information about the entire blockchain, because in participation nodes, we have data for about last 1,000 blocks. On archival nodes, it will contain information of the entire blockchain. So you can run indexers on top of it, which is indexer is like an API to kind of query data over the blockchain. So this is something which a lot of traders, high frequency traders also use. They use the archival nodes because they have to get access to the historical data of like of a particular ticker of, let's say, 5 years back. So they can query that kind of data, those prices, those numbers on chain, and you get information about the history of the blocks. So yeah, that's about the archival nodes. Now coming to relay nodes are hard coded into the software to connect with the network, and the end users have the ability to kind of specify their own relay nodes, and this is done to basically route data between the nodes and to make the communication even more effective. This is something that we are working day and night to improve the communication between different nodes and to make sure that there is enhanced mechanism of security on our current blockchain. Now, coming to the consensus, which is pure proof of stake or PPOS. Now, traditionally, we have seen proof of work, which was used for Bitcoin, which was used for Ethereum as well. Now they have moved to proof of stake. Proof of work, we know it's very harmful for the environment, as it's like, computers are kind of trying to fight with each other to reach consensus and to mine the next block, which is extremely unfriendly for the environment. That's where proof of stake kind of came in and said, why don't we do this as a lottery system, where if someone has more stake into a particular pool, they will get more chances of voting and proposing the next block. And where PPOS came into play is that we kind of follow this as a lottery system, which was done via the VRF, which is a novelty which was invented by Sylvia McCallie. So what VRFs do is they produce they produce a random committee of, let's say, 20 participants at once, and to become an eligible participant for this, you need to hold like one algo in your account. So if you have an algo, that is like your ticket to take part in consensus. And once we have a committee of these people who want to take part in consensus, these random 20 people are kind of selected, and then this is a three-stage process. We have the block proposals, we have block filtering, and then we have quorum and certification. Now, what they do is they kind of propose the next block, and then the block transactions are verified, and then they are eventually pushed into the system. Now, what block proposal means, as I said, when someone proposes a block, what next block should be, that is the transaction which will be in the next coming block. Block filtering means that all the proposals are filtered out, and which blocks are valid for this one will be added to the next one. And then quorum, or you can say certification, means that finally the filtered block is taken that was selected by the previous group, and it decides which is going to be the final block, and it is added onto the chain. And once it is done, the chain has an updated state, the block has been added, and the committee is formed again to follow this entire process again. So this is a basic rundown of what pure proof of stake is. Let's talk more about the layer 1 characteristics of Algorand and what are the things which make it so unique. Because we have several of these features coded into the layer 1. We don't have any sort of add-ons. These are like layer 1 features and novelties that we have. Firstly, we have Algorand standardized assets, which are the native assets for NFTs and fungible tokens. So if any of you are devs over here, you might know that the fungible tokens, or you can say NFTs, are implemented as a standardized smart contract on any other layer 1. So you will write a smart contract, you will kind of mint the NFT, but on Algorand, it's a layer 1 feature. So that means it is like it is like you don't have to write smart contracts to create ASAs, but you can associate them with different smart contracts. You can have stateful smart contracts, but you don't necessarily need to write a smart contract to create your NFTs or even fungible tokens. These are like normal tokens which you can transact on top of layer one, and you can expect the same level of security with the ASA transfer as you would with any other things, any other tokens that you would expect the Algorand has to offer. Number two is the atomic transactions. So atomic transfers or atomic transactions offer a very secure way to simultaneously transfer a number of assets among a number of parties. A smart contract can issue up to a total of 256 inner transactions with one contract call, and you can group around 16 transactions at once, and you can broadcast them together. If one of them fail, then the entire group is rejected. And atomic transfers are very low cost to execute, and it makes it highly scalable to kind of do these kind of transactions. Next is rekeying. Now, rekeying is a very unique concept. As you know, whenever we kind of create a wallet, we have a public key and a private key. Now, this is a unique feature where you can keep your existing public key as the same, but you can change your private key, and it allows users to like change their private spending key without the need to change their public key. So it is another cool feature that we have. Now, coming to the smart contracts, which is point number 4. Smart contracts on Algorand are different. We are not EVM compatible, so we don't follow what Ethereum follows. We have our own virtual machines. A virtual machine on Ethereum is called EVM. A virtual machine on Algorand is called AVM. And those are smart contracts are also different. So there can be two main kinds of smart contracts. They can be stateless and stateful smart contracts. Stateless smart contracts are used to approve the spending or asset transfers, and they govern all these kind of transactions from a particular account. Stateful smart contracts, on the other hand, implement the application logic of things. They can store and update different values on chain, and you can use it for application calls, all those kind of things. Again, important to note here is that we are not EVM compatible. These kind of smart contracts are compiled on top of AVM, which is Algorand Virtual Machine, which is unique to Algorand. Now, lastly, we have state proofs. State proofs is one of the most recent addition to Algorand. This allows Algorand to export the current state of the chain to other blockchains. So basically, it opens a whole new avenue for us to have useful multi-chain interoperability. We can have different integrations with it, like we can have bridges, we can bring different assets from one chain to another in a very seamless way. And interesting point to note here is that probably what other blockchains are not focusing on is post-quantum security. And with the help of state proofs, Algorand is working towards post-quantum security, and it basically ensures Algorand from post-quantum security. Now, talking about how devs can kind of fire up their own system, how they can work on Algorand. A very simple way to do that is using a sandbox. Sandbox is a dev environment with AlgoD, which is a node and an indexer, which is a very fast way that you can just spin up a node. You can quickly test different things, and I'm going to be showing you how you can do that very easily. It has 4 main components. As I said, it has AlgoD, which is a network node. It has an indexer, which is a query tool. It will have Goal, which is a transaction builder tool that we have, and it will also have a key manager, which is KMD. So you will have these different keys as well. Now, the good thing about using a sandbox is that you will get some sample commands which are integrated, which can be integrated very easily, and you will also get pre-funded accounts. So you don't have to create new accounts and then fund them and then use them for transactions. You will get pre-funded accounts that you can use straight out of the bat to carry out these different transactions. So let's get started with setting up the dev environment. Important thing to note here is that you will need to install all these different dependencies before we kind of start building on it. So if you are working on Mac, I would highly recommend you installing Brew so that the whole installation process is easier for you. Then you would need a Python version 3.10 or above to run PyTeal and other libraries. You will need to install Docker Compose so that we can run the Docker images and containers. You will need a copy of your Node.js. and then I will show you how you can install Sandbox. So this is the repository that we have, which is github.com/algorand/sandbox. And the installation process is also written over here. What you have to do is you have to just clone the repository with the help of git clone and then link of this particular repository. So you can copy from here, or as you know, you can just also like copy the link from here. And let's say if I were to let me share my screen and let me go to the terminal so that we can see how we can work on it. Okay, so this is the terminal that we have. So basically all I have to do is, let me see where I am currently. I'm inside of the sandbox. Okay, let me just, okay, so let me just open up a new terminal window, and it is very simple to install this sandbox. Now I will just go on to the desktop. I will change the directory, go on to desktop, and then I will run the command, which is git clone and the link of the repository. And it will clone the repository for us. Now, let me just go inside of the sandbox folder. So I will do change directory sandbox, and we are inside of sandbox. Now, a very simple way to fire up sandbox is /sandbox up. Just make sure that you have your Docker open in the background. So I do have the Docker running. So I will just do /sandbox up -v to see the details. So simple command /sandbox up. And it is running 3 containers for us, which is algod, the Postgres, and the indexer, as I said. So it will just initialize the services for us. If you go back to Sandbox, you can also see that these things will also start running for us. So it is a very simple way of how you can kind of fire up your own dev environment, and just to kind of shut it down, you can just say /sandbox down, and it will close automatically. Now let me just come back to the slides. Okay, so we are back at the slides. Yeah, so this was a very simple way to kind of boost, just fire up your dev environment. Now, moving on to the SDKs that are available for the development community, we have official support for 4 types of SDKs, which is JavaScript SDK, we have Go SDK, we have Python, and we have Java support. There are different community SDKs available as well. We have Dart, PHP, Rust, Swift, Unity, and .NET. And this is available, of course, on the developer portal that we have. You can go and read docs on how you can get started with these particular SDKs. Now, talking about how you can send your first transactions with the help of Elgo SDK, I would have shown you this transaction, but it will take a lot of time. So let's skip over this, but just to like kind of explain it to you, to run and send your first transaction, you can fire it up in the testnet. You can have the Python SDK connected to it. You can create account, fund it, connect the client. You can build a transaction, you just have to sign it, and once you submit the transaction, you will be able to access all the information of the particular transaction. Now, a lot of you guys must be new to smart contracts and what smart contract actually is, and also I want to discuss how it is different on Algorand, right? So smart contract is like an on-chain logic which stays on-chain on the particular blockchain, and it will self-execute itself whenever a certain condition is met. So, for example, if there is a particular condition, let's say like if you want to fund a particular account, once the particular condition is met, it will do it on its own. And that's how we use smart contracts in different logics. There are multiple use cases of it. We can build different dApps. For example, we can have a voting dApp. We can have RSVP dApp. We can virtually do elections on it. So there's like multiple applications of it. Now, the only different part for blockchain, for Algorand blockchain, is that these final transactions are being compiled on the Algorand blockchain. So the AVM is compiling down these smart contracts into something which is readable by AVM. On AVM we have the bytecode. Similarly, on AVM we have the bytecode on which these transactions on which the smart contract is kind of compiled down into bytecode, and then it is readable by AVM. So yeah, so that is a little bit about smart contracts. Now, to go over accounts and smart contracts, we have different accounts which are also called wallets. It will always have a public key. It will always have a private key. And you can use it to transfer different tokens. You can also use it for application calls. You can have call, deploy, update, delete, all these different things. Of course, you will have a mnemonic. If you have a private key, you can also have a mnemonic for that, and you have to always keep it safe with you if you are owning a particular wallet and you have different funds in it. Now, just to skip over this, so we also have our Algo Explorer, which is a blockchain explorer, which can be used in a similar way like other explorers are used, like Etherscan and let's say BSC scan. So this is like an interface of what we have. You can put in a particular address. You can see what is the balance of algo that they're holding. You can see all the previous transactions. You can also see application calls, which are kind of labeled as app calls, and the different transfers are labeled as transfers. And you can, as I see, you can see the balances of these accounts. Now, similarly for application, we have the application ID that you can see on the Explorer itself. Now, we have just two more slides which are left. PyTeal is the language that we use to write Algorand smart contracts. It is a Python library. Like primary language that we use is called Teal, but it is a Python wrapper on top of Teal, and it simplifies the whole process. So you write your code in PyTeal, it gets compiled down, and then we have the SDKs that you can kind of hook them up, and then we have the AVM which compiles these PyTeal smart contracts. As I said, Teal is very hard to read. It is an assembly-like language, but PyTeal is very familiar to the devs because it is Python-based language. So all the Python devs can easily build on top of it. Now, we cannot go into details about everything in this particular session. So what you can do is you can scan this QR code, and you can also get access to different developer documents and different developer portals that we have. You can go on the developer portal. You can go on the Algorand forum. You can also scan the QR code to join the Discord. If you have any questions, you can ask over there. And if you want to connect with me, if you have any more questions, you can also do that by scanning the QR code. Just one last thing I want to say is we are having our own India Hack Shack, which is happening in Hyderabad in March. And also a pitch competition is happening for the enterprise solutions. So if you're building something on Algorand, I'd be more than happy to see you over there. This link will also be available on this particular QR code. So you can just scan it and you can use it to kind of signing up. And if you want to connect with me, you can also do that with the same QR code. Thank you. That was my time. Thank you so much for being here, and keep building on Algorand.
Thank you, Pranjal, for that amazing workshop. Well, it has been a wonderful day, a day full of informative sessions and workshops. We're now at the last leg of Namaste Web3 Bengaluru chapter. Before I invite Neeraj Khandelwal, co-founder CoinDCX, for vote of thanks, before that, can I request for the Octo video to be played? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give up a big round of applause. On that note, I now request Neeraj Khandeval, co-founder CoinDCX, to please join up on the stage and present the vote of thanks. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
I'm very hungry, by the way, just like everyone. So I'll not take much time. Today was very good because this is the first time, initially when we started CoinDCX, like 5 years ago, ekdam naye the hum, and we didn't understand the power of and importance of community right at the beginning. And today we understand कि अपन सब लोग यहाँ पे आए हैं ना, and we are working together. This is super important. If we want to achieve anything in crypto, this kind of thing is super important. Now quickly, I want to say a few things before we go for the lunch. Firstly, you can see this QR code, right? You should scan it and join the Namaste Web3 community. You will be the first guys, to join this community. And because this is our first Namaste Web3 event, so we are starting it from here. And, then we'll be traveling to 10 cities across India, right? And this community will keep on growing. The objective of this community is very simple. When I was networking with a couple of people outside, few of them were also competitors of what we are doing at CoinDCX. And the good thing that I liked is they were openly sharing, how they are solving challenges without any fear of, competition. And so was I. Openly sharing, what binds us all, what binds all of us into one, is the common challenges that we have in front of us. We struggle with common challenges. For example, we have regulatory issues. Now and then governments come up with some kind of regulations, might not be always friendly. The second challenge that we all of us face together, in this space is things like FTX, and other large scale failures, etc. उन सबसे बहुत डर लगता है अपन को. So we have faced all of that. Like Sumit mentioned about Mt. Gox, etc. This industry is volatile. Even though there are a lot of promises, even though Web3 is going to be the next version of internet, but today all of us face some common challenges. And solidarity is important. What is important is that we help each other. And with that perspective, we are starting up this community. It's an open forum where, CoinDCX will be going across the country, in all the cities, building this community from ground up. And you guys are the first set of people to join this. And, we'll keep building from here. The second part, very quickly, is about, I want to share one thing which I believe very, very firmly. जब मार्केट ऐसे जाता है ना ऊपर, तो सब लोग एक्साइट होकर इन्वेस्ट करते हैं उसमें. People are like more excited. And then suddenly what happens? Market एकदम से गिर जाता है नीचे. And then it takes 2 years. And then it's bear market. And then it goes up again. We have seen that 5-6 times in the whole crypto journey. If you realize कि ये bear market कब खत्म होने वाला है, that is just one realization which can make all the difference. Realization when the bull market ends and realization when the bear market ends. I feel now is the time, this 2023 is the time when after 2023, ये जो अपन bear cycle पूरी experience कर रहे हैं ना, I think that is going to go and that is going to end. No one knows exact time. No one knows when precisely. But I think this next 1 year is the time is the time to build for that next market cycle. It's clear that growth comes with the market cycle. You cannot go against the wind. You cannot go against the market. That's very difficult. This is the time when we have to build for the next cycle. And I think we are pretty much on the border. मतलब अब delay नहीं कर सकते. We cannot be late. If you are building something, don't think that we have a lot of time. अभी अपन 2-3 साल बनाते रहेंगे, right? Slowly चलते रहेंगे, and then right now it's bear market. We have a lot of time. I think we don't have much time to build some great products. We have to move fast. And next 1 year, 2023, we cannot be lax. We cannot think that we have a lot of time. Whatever needs to be done, we have to do quickly. If we need to build some of the greatest products from India into the Web3, greatest global products, that is the dream. If we have to do that, now is the time. So, and we want to facilitate that. First of all, we realize that ऐसा नहीं कि CoinDCX सब कुछ करेगा, right? Or any other company will do everything. No, सबको मिलके करना है. That's super important. It cannot be done by a single company. It has to be done by the country, not just a company, right? So let's build Web3 out of India. Let's start with this community. This is our initiative to make India a leader, a global leader on the Web3 front. We are always available for you guys. We have many initiatives. We have DCX Ventures, where we are open to investing in very interesting projects. We have the community already, present. We have the product, where people can enter into the crypto space, do on-ramp and off-ramp, buy, sell, etc. We have educational videos, educational contents, on the web. So we have multiple dimensions of how we can assist you, how we can facilitate you to be a part of this journey, right? And we are open to feedbacks from each and every one of you. Very open for that. So keep it coming. And Sumit and I we both we wish that we as a community succeed and reach to great heights. That's what I wish. So great. Thank you so much. Okay. Should have lunch now.
Products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions. Here's the thing about change. It's always happening. Mere fragments of time chipping away little by little at reality as we know it. Until, when we least expect, change does what it does best. It arrives. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves on the cusp of taking our next big leap. A whole new world entirely at our fingertips. Only this time, more open, more equal, more inclusive, and more fair. With the power to liberate in your hands and the responsibility to uphold its vision in ours. We are CoinDCX. Catalysts of change in a new digital world. Founded in 2018, we are India's leading crypto exchange. Trusted by over 1.3 crore users. Supported by many top investors. And the hard work of more than 600 employees. Our efforts ensure equal access to a plethora of revolutionary new digital pursuits. And enable interactions with an all-new decentralized digital world. Our products are safe, secure, and compliant. We also support many promising new ventures that help strengthen the broader digital ecosystem. And for those who seek it, We offer a comprehensive crypto education platform. A decentralized new digital world is upon us. Change is upon us. The only question is, are we willing to embrace it? CoinDCX. Change starts together. Crypto products and NFTs are unregulated and can be highly risky. There may be no regulatory recourse for any loss from such transactions.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it brings to an end of Forbes India and CoinDCX presents Namaste Web3. Please give a big round of applause for yourself. Thank you once again for being right here and making this event a grand success with your esteemed presence. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would now request you all to please join us for the networking and lunch. Thank you once again. Here's wishing you a great day ahead. Thank you.